What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. In particular, welcome to Rockin Robbie Live. I am your host tonight, Rockin Robbie. It is called Rockin Robbie Live after all. This is the super fun, comic book-oriented, pop culture-oriented, whatever kind of show on Sunday nights that we do. We'll be talking about comic books, movies, pop culture, and a whole lot more. Fantastic. How's everybody doing? I hope you had a fantastic weekend. We had a great time. Went karaoke last night for the first time in a very long time. Had a lot of fun. It's always nice to see Jelani singing songs from The Lion King. So how's everybody doing? I am, of course, Rockin Robbie Billups. I forget how I start these shows. How do we do it? What am I supposed to say next? That's right. We'll be talking a little bit about this week's comics. We'll be taking a look at them. We'll be taking a look at our favorite comic books from last week. We'll do a DC sneak peek. We'll talk about the final episode of Loki. We'll talk about Black Widow. We debut the new bit, Image in the 90s. Going to be very excited for that. Top 5 1987 movies, all that stuff and more. How is everybody doing? I do want to say you can follow me on Twitter if you're so inclined to do so at the Rockin Robbie. You can follow Pop Culture Philosophers. That's right. We're on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you're on Facebook, you might as well join the PCP Army. It's the official Pop Culture Philosophers Facebook group. You can check out our website, popculturephilosophers.com, for podcasts, blogs, and a whole lot more. And you can support the channel through Super Chats or at Patreon. Patreon.com/PCP, like these fine PCP Patriots right there. So how is everybody doing? Let's see who's all in here. We got Lewis. What's up? Jesse say, what? Silent 59. What's up, Kitten Puke? Super Stick Boy. Patrick. Good morning, Patrick says. It's evening where I am, but good morning to you, sir. Eric. Station, everybody. Kyle. Perry. What's up, Perry? John. Tacky. TM. Eddie. Fable. Fargate. Look at all the blue wrenches out there. Hell yeah. What's up, Philip? Station, everybody. I see now it's going to be a pattern to me working during the show. Shaking my head. Well, you can always watch on the rewind or something to make your workday a little bit better, right? Hopefully. Brother Joe, Tim, Atari, Steve, Easy Reader, Nova 69, dudes. Hell yeah. Image in the 90s. What could it possibly be about tonight? How do we kick it off? You'll just have to wait and see. But I'm always excited to be here and chatting comics and stuff with you guys. So this show is driven, fueled, if you will, by your questions, your thoughts, your comments, your concerns. Get them out. Got something you want to chat about? Now's the time to throw out the conversation. I am watching the Yankees play the Red Sox. 2-0, right? Yeah, 2-0 right now, bottom of the third. Stands on first. Who's batting? Oh. Sanchez. I blanked on his name. Need to know what Robbie's go-to karaoke song is, and why is it some Ace of Base deep cut? Now, so I did 3 tunes last night. The first one was Ice Ice Baby. I typically open up that one because I can do it easy. And for some reason, it makes people it blows people's minds that I can do it without looking at the lyrics, and I kill it. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I kill it, okay? After that, I did Nothing But a G Thing. Same thing. Don't look at the screen. Just kill it. And then the third and final one I did was a first timer for me. Usually it's less Ace of Base, but more like Duran Duran, Billy Idol, things like that. But last night I decided to do Kids in America by Kim Wilde. And I think I did it pretty well. Got audience participation in some bits. But man, I forgot how high it can get. So yeah. But anyway, had a great time. What's your go-to karaoke song? Why don't you throw it out there in the chat? What's coming up here at PCP this week, since you asked? We got Action Fest rolling on through. That's Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. Join us for a look at all 3 John Wick movies. I've never seen a single one, so I am super freaking excited to watch these films and discuss them with a great panel of guests. Unfortunately, Ibrahim Mustafa has had to cancel, as well as Jay Strick. So, go figure. Anyway, then Dylan's Horror Show. Next week, this upcoming Saturday, is the show that you were supposed to get last night. But Dylan had some things come up. So we're doing the werewolf double feature, Bad Moon and Silver Bullet. That will be this week. And that's what we got coming up this week as far as live shows go. So, how's everybody doing? We're going to kick it off with the first 6. We're going through my Marvel Universe Series 2 trading cards. And we're in the arch enemies, Spider-Man and the Lizard. First encounter, Amazing Spider-Man number 6 from 1963. Silver Surfer. Who's a Silver Surfer? Silver Surfer versus Thanos. First encounter, Silver Surfer number 34 from 1990. Avengers versus Ultron. And that is the West Coast Avengers if you really look, right? Oh, yeah. U.S. Agent, Wonder Man up in there. Look at that. Anyway, Ultron, Avengers. First encounter, Avengers 55, 1968. Captain America and the Red Skull. First encounter, Captain America Comics number 1 from 1941. Then we got Daredevil versus Punisher, and this is Jim Lee headband era. First encounter, Daredevil 183 from 1982. And X-Men versus the Marauders, the original OG, more villainous Marauders. First encounter, X-Men 211 from 1986. And that brings us the first 6, followed by the final 9, towards the end of the show. We were asking, what is your go-to karaoke song? Azores Tiger says, I do Ace of Base. I should. I mean, I would. I was also signed up to do View to a Kill. That's like that is the go-to. Duran Duran, View to a Kill. That's the go-to, but you gotta end the night. But we had to leave. But you gotta end the night with that, with like a group sing. And I was also signed up to do Friends in Low Places, because that's always one. But it was a super, super fun event. It was a local restaurant was doing like a private karaoke party, and your boy got the invite. Now that Something is Killing the Children is getting a Netflix show, should I get my first printing cover A graded? Go Yanks. If, voracious reader, if you are looking to flip it at a certain point when it gets to a height, yes. Having it pressed and cleaned and then graded would be very beneficial. I would recommend getting it professionally pressed and cleaned first, because that will bump up the grade. I've got a cover A and cover B on that I should probably do that with, because I'm not super attached to that run. I love the book, that's why I've been collecting it, but if the show took off, I mean, let's sell some comics, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Kid Puke says, I have evidence that my cat is involved in an intergalactic conspiracy to conquer our galaxy. It almost sounds similar to a plot of a movie. Steph's in the house. What's up? Has anybody read Beyond the Breach? And if so, what did you think about it? That's what Patrick says. I liked it. It was, in fact, my number 2 comic book last week. If you watched my top 10 video that I do with Jim Mint over at Jim Mint Collectibles, which you should, and anytime you're in there, throw out a station. Represent the PCP Army amongst the Geminites. But that was my number 2 book. My number 1, of course, we'll get to, but y'all know what that is. Caps on Comics is here. Y'all, I got to tell you, man, you know, we have lots of people come and do shows with us, whether they're comic book creators or filmmakers, or, you know, I could say it. We had Chris Matheson on the show, co-creator Bill and Ted. I can never let that go. We should get him back on the show. How about Timothy Dalton? Is he available yet? Still no, still getting, yeah, still no response. All right. Timothy Dalton, friend of the show. I think Living Daylights is a severely underrated James Bond movie. And when I do my top 5 in 87, I mean, that's not on the list, but it's probably in my top 15 for sure. I'll tell you that. The hell was I saying? Anyway, we've had a lot of great people on the channel, whether they're YouTubers or whatever, right? And Caps on Comics and Dank Comics, that was a really crazy conversation. We had a really good conversation about pop culture, comics, and then like an hour and 15 in, we throw on the shades, and there is never any preparation for a Teen Dog Shades moment. You let the spirit move you. And I do want to say, majorly awesome, great show. I had so much fun doing it. And Caps on Comics says, White Wedding by Billy Idol. I'd love to do karaoke with you someday. Well, we have to do it. Wish there was a way we could do it live. It's just impossible. You got everybody singing out of it's always off because everybody's connection's different and this and that. By the way, stay tuned for show and tell at the end of the show because I got a special AOK from Caps on Comics that I'm going to be showing off. And bruh, thank you so much. Roderick says, anything Tina Turner. Hell yeah. Steve says, usually Billy Joel, likely Piano Man, but I'm old. Oh, that's fine, man. My buddy Justin, that's one of his go-tos. Hey, Dank's in here. Hey, Jelani's in here. I was telling about karaoke, Jelani. Now we're asking everybody their go-to. Jelani started the night with karaoke. His first song was Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Jelani says, my go-to is Plush by Stone Temple Pilots. That's funny, young man, because last night you couldn't even remember the name of the song. I had to tell you. You were like, what's the one that's like, man, I'm blue, remember. Tin Man says, my wife can do Rapper's Delight from memory. Hell yeah. Dominique says, Station All go-to karaoke is Build Me Up Buttercup. John Spiliotopoulos, first time on live. Now I can die in peace. Oh, bruh. Get a better bucket list. Come on, man. Nah, I thank you for being here. Did anyone sign up to get their Galactus? Easy Reader? My simple... No, hell no. Everybody, all at once. You know when something big is happening in pop culture or like in the comic book world or the toy world or something when my phone just blows up. Like I got all these people like, bro, are you going to get this Galactus? And I looked into it and I was like, hell no. And they're like, well, why not? I'm like, bruh, like Galactus is one of my favorite characters, and I got a lot of Galactus stuff. But like for real, like nah, hell no. $400? Nah. And where am I gonna put that? You know, I'd rather do it $400. This is what I told my buddy Chris. He was like, bruh, $400. I was like, bruh, if I had $400 just to spend on a toy right now, I would be buying some vintage Mo2. That's what I would do. I buy those hard to get vintage Mo2s. That's what I would do. But it looks awesome. Like, was it like 32 inches tall? Oh my goodness. Like a regular Marvel Legend is the boot. That's crazy. The HasLab stuff, like Sentinel looks cool. The Mandalorian ship or whatever, that's cool. My buddy Chris got that. But out of everything, the one that if I could just have would be Unicron. Like that would really, when it comes to Transformers, I'm only modern, and I'm very selective on characters. And a Unicron, that would have been insanely awesome to have. But it's just dust in the wind now. Does CGC do on-site grading at cons? Yes, they do, depending on the con. But for the most part, I don't know if they're back. I know that for the last year, obviously, things have been different. But CGC typically does on-site grading. Well, they don't do it like on-site, but they'll take it on-site. You know what I'm saying? But you won't get the product then. I hope the alien doesn't spit out the kid talking about Beyond the Breach. That's probably what's going to happen. But that would be bold. They literally just end the first issue with like a death of like the child character. Yeah, Jelani's like, hell no, I'm not going to pay $400 for that. Yeah, like there's way better toys to buy for $400. Hey, Jamie's in the house, literally. Jamie says, apparently all my go-to songs are depressing. No, they're not. She started off with Creep. You did another radio one. You did another Radiohead. You did, what is it, Fade In Out? And then you did Neil Young. I don't remember the other one. How many songs did you do? Like 5? What? Too many. At first, me, Jelani, and Jamie were the only people signing up for karaoke. We're like, why are y'all at this karaoke party? But then it was fun, and it was a really, really fun night. Death Throws and Friends says, Master of Puppets doing heavy vocals. Man, my buddy Bill, I love his karaoke style. He did some DMX. He did some other stuff. I've never seen somebody go so ham on karaoke like this dude. Like I'm telling you, like you have to see it for yourself. I swear you need to do Disney stuff. I don't know. I'm not, every time I go to karaoke, somebody does Disney stuff or multiple people. It's always like a staple amongst some of my group of friends, right? But like me personally, I have to karaoke because there's too many like musical breaks or whatnot, but it happens. Am I frozen? Was I frozen there? Okay. Jelani says Jamie was fantastic on the mic. You should have recorded. I'm just going to record random people doing karaoke so I could share it on my live streams. Hey, but with permission, that could be a bit. You know, that could be, instead of doing a break. But Jelani and Jamie know what I'm talking about. Our homie Bill was freaking awesome. Oh, my goodness. It's fantastic. I'm killing any Beastie Boys song. I almost did Fight for Your Right last night because that's always a good crowd pleaser, you know? Who just got a home run? Oh, that was just a replay. All right, we're talking about your go-to karaoke song. X gonna give it to you. X gonna give it to you. X gonna give it to you. It's just, it's a style, and you quickly found out, especially when he did Van Halen's Jump, that he did it with the exact same style. Oh, I loved it. It was so fun. Let it go. Let it go. I almost wanted to be like, hey man, look for this song on YouTube and let me sing the Hellboy bit. But nobody would have gotten it. So X gonna give it to you. And then there was a tribute to Biz Markie, so that was nice. Had fun. Then this one dude, after I did a couple songs, he came up to me, he's like, did you do that without looking at the thing? I was like, yeah. He goes, I think I can do that with Ice Cube. It was a good day. He did a good job. He needed a little bit of help, but he did fine. He didn't J-Strick it up, if you know what I'm saying. Ah! Ushers, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Hell yeah. So did anything break the comic book world? No, but here's something in pop culture that I think is hilarious. Okay. I have seen a lot of posts over the last few days, like very angry, negative, bad reviews on Space Jam 2. And this is why this cracks me up. This is why this cracks me up so freaking much. First of all, what the hell did you expect out of LeBron James in Space Jam 2? Like, did you think that this was going to be like some kind of like amazing movie that you as a grown-ass person was going to like really resonate with? Secondly, why all of a sudden do we think Space Jam was this monumental moment in pop culture? Like, I get the appeal. I love Space Jam too, but like, it's not a good movie. It's like, what are you expecting? Is that just disappointment through the lens of nostalgia, which is a true phenomenon, right? But like I get people being like, that movie's stupid. Well, of course it's stupid. It's Space Jam 2. It's a LeBron James Looney Tunes movie that's a remake of a Michael Jordan Looney Tunes movie that's geared towards kids. Like, okay, it's probably dumb as shit. I'm going to watch it. I'm excited. I'm thinking about going to the theater to watch it, honestly. I need to watch Fast Furious. I think that's the plan for tomorrow. It's just like these people are like, there's people that are legitimately angry. Like, they're mad. They're like, oh, I can't believe they would put this piece of shit out. Ruin the legacy of Space Jam. Ruin the legacy of Space Jam? R. Kelly already did that. Ruin the legacy of Space Jam? What legacy? What are we fucking talking about? Like, Space Jam? Space Jam. I love Space Jam. And then someone was like, the soundtrack sucked and paled in comparison to the first one. That I'll give you. We can critique the soundtrack because it should have a good jumping soundtrack. And that first Space Jam does. But it's like I get what is so crazy. People are so mad. It's almost like the way you feel like when you watch, like how mad you would get, say, when you watch Batman and Robin. You're like, oh, I can't believe they would do this to Batman. Oh, I can't believe they would do this to Space Jam. Do what to Space Jam? Space Jam was already this kind of a movie. I don't know. Just cracks me up. I don't know. It's a weird thing. For instance, if you're somebody who was like super pissed off at the low quality of Space Jam 2, I mean, I feel for you. But I really don't know what people were expecting, I guess. But whatever. Steve says, I don't know. Lola Bunny just doesn't seem committed to the role, and Granny's best days are behind her. Delaney says, Space Jam is for kids. Just let them enjoy it. People critiquing the shit out of Space Jam 2 and comparing it to the first one as if the first one's like fucking Citizen Kane or Casablanca or some shit like that. Comic Toby says, so the band is broken up Friday on Jim Mint. Yeah. I mean, Loki's over. I mean, luckily there's season 2. Hopefully Jim wants to continue doing a season 2. There's been some discussion about a what if, but I don't know. It seems like Very Gary did the ones before for like WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier, and Jim did the one for Loki. But I don't know. If they planned something and they asked me to be a part of it, I would love to. I loved hanging out with those guys and chatting with Loki over the last month. That was one of the highlights of the month for me, was hanging out with those guys. Those are really, really cool guys. I had briefly met Tom a couple times online before, but that was really the first time I got to like hang out with Tom. First time I ever met Gary. First time I ever met Matt and Guy from Pressable Defects, and the first time I ever met Benny from Comic Storian. So it was super green. Super green. Super green. Yeah, we got Big Herm Collectibles in the house. Jelani's going to go get some crab legs. Hell yeah, brother. The original Space Jam, Citizen Kane. What's up, Jorm Greenwell? Speaking of super green. He's well green. Well green? Tonight we're drinking Avondale AOK. Same beer I was drinking last night. I loved it. They had it at the restaurant. I love it when you find a new beer that you really like. You know, I was expanding out. That's what happened. So everybody, every week I was just drinking Monkey Nut. So I was like, I'm going to start trying different beers. And I did. But now I am stuck on AOK from Avondale. This shit is good, bro. It's super good. I know Jelani loves Meteor. Damn, Rockin Robbie, you had the Rob and Benny experience this year. I know. It only took 6 years, but hell yeah. When I first started doing YouTube, like I watched their stuff to see what they were doing, and I was like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to just kind of explain, but I mean, their success is because their channels have a more wide appeal, right? But whatever. But here's something that Benny said on Friday night, is he told everybody, because he was also he was restreaming on his channel all those shows too. So not only was it on Jim Mint, but it was on Comic Storian, and he was like, he just kept telling people, but then on check out these guys. But then he was like, these guys right here, this is the new wave, this is the next generation. So you guys need to really get in. And I think we've pulled in some people from that. So if anybody's here from seeing my appearances on that station, and if you don't know what station means, it just means be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes. Philip Clark says, support local breweries. Hell yeah, that's Avondale's from Birmingham, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours down south. Not an hour and a half. I think they're from Birmingham. Pretty sure they're from Birmingham. But, when I was growing up, we didn't have any local breweries here, and they changed all the laws not too long ago. Now, my town's actually kind of hip and jumping when it comes to that kind of stuff. We got several really good stuff. John says, had a crab and cheer omelet for breakfast. Crab and cheer omelet. I don't understand what that's supposed to mean, bruh. Have I watched the Harley Quinn TV show? I have not. Patrick says, absolutely love the Harley Quinn TV series. I've heard that it's really, really freaking good. Like, I have heard that it's really good, and I want to check it out. You cheese? Bruh, I don't know what that means. You cheese? What's a you cheese? It just... Whoo. Check one. Hey, John says, found you from Bueller Station. How is Bueller? Somebody check on Bueller. Crab and cheese. I got you. Crab and cheese. A crab and cheese omelet, I'm sure, is very cheerful. I've never had a crab omelet. Never had a crab omelet. Somebody, by the way, somebody go ask Bueller if he's okay. Tell him Robbie wants to know. Sent that dude a Instagram message a couple days ago. Didn't get a response. I think Bueller thinks he's like too big now. You know, he's like streaming live from comic book cons. He's got another con coming up. He's a super busy guy. He's too busy for his boy Robbie. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little shitty. That's all. Just kidding. I'm totally just kidding. I saw him last Wednesday. He's good. Well, that was last Wednesday. How's he doing today? Just want to know. Just want to know if Bueller's okay. There will not be by the way, if you're following along the Bruce Lee movie reviews, there's not one for today. Partied pretty hard last night. Slept in pretty late today. So didn't get. Yeah, he's like got the Moon Knight thing going. Oh my goodness. That's a dope ass cover. That is a dope ass cover. What's up, Nick? That Moon Knight cover's dope as hell. If you haven't bought it yet, I don't know if they're sold out yet, but if you go to Bird City Comics, the Bueller variant for Moon Knight #1 is up there, and if you buy it, don't forget to put in the Bueller code so you get another 10% off. So the Game of Death review will be next week because I'm freed up this week a little bit because I don't have to watch something for Dylan's horror show because I already did watch Silver Bullet and Bad Moon. But I do got 3 John Wick movies and 3 Fast movies to watch. How tall is Bueller? I have never met Bueller in person, but I understand that Bueller's quite tall. Robbie, thoughts on Terrence McKinnon, The Clockwork Elves? Bruh, I just did a Teen Dog Shades night. Where was you? I think it's an interesting idea. I mean, we're not going to get too Teen Dog Shadesy. What just happened? Looks like someone got hurt jumping for a ball. Who was that? Is that Ford? Who was that? Anyway, sorry, got distracted from the ball game over there. What are we talking about? Oh, Clockwork Elves. It's interesting. I've never I think it, without trying to get too into it, I'll just say, they're doing it. Ooh. That was an awkward way to hit that wall. Or he's just trying to be like, I didn't catch that ball. Oh, I'm hurt. That's why. Oh, he almost had it. And I think he's like, damn, I missed. Act hurt. So people don't go like, damn, you didn't catch the ball. They'll be like, are you okay? Nah, he's probably really hurt. Anyway, basically, I'll just say this. I think there's certain things that people do. Terrence McKenna talks about it, how you can pierce the veil almost of this reality, or at least what. Because remember, reality is what we chemically, neurons firing. Like there's all these processes that are involved in how we experience reality. And maybe there's something else. And maybe there's something just beyond the curtain. In fact, maybe it's a variant of Kang. Who knows? Yankees going to be buyers or sellers? I think they're going to be buyers. I think they're going to be trying to get some pieces to try to... I think they feel good. They beat Boston last night coming off. I mean, we had a good finish before the All-Star break for the most part until the 9th inning of that last game against the Astros. And, COVID testing. We didn't play on Friday. because of some COVID positive tests or something like that. And I think that helped extend their break. And, they beat Boston. Beating Boston's good. So if we beat Boston tonight, if we push this through, like, I think we're good. And as long as they think that they're good, they're going to be buying. Jordan's got some speculation. He says, Dylan had some shorty slide number to him while he was on shift, so he canceled his show. Just speculation. Maybe. I don't even know what happened. He just told me, he's like, bruh, something came up and I can't get out of it, so I'm going to push it back an hour. I was like, well, I got plans tonight. We're going to go karaoke, so if we can fit it in, we're going to fit it in. And then he's like, yeah, and also, like, I'm getting a new bed and desk, and my whole bedroom's just torn apart. So actually, if you put that together with your theory, it may not be that far off. I don't know. It's going to be funny as shit if Bueller does get like 80 fucking Instagram messages of people being like, yo, Robbie wants to know if you're okay. Dylan's got to live too. Hell yeah, I hope so. I think they have a big chance of catching the wild card. They do. It's just... Right now, we've got the Rays and the Red Sox, right? So we got to leap both of them. To get the wild card, we would have to leap at least one of them. So. Damn, Dylan broke the bed. Good. I think he needs it. Welcome to Rockin Robbie Live, where I spend 15 minutes in the first segment just talking shit about my friends here on YouTube. Regardless, by the way, though, I know for real, Bueller and Bob have been super, super busy because they did the con. They're just getting back to the flow of things, and now they got another con to do. So, like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And by the way, speaking of variants and exclusives, some people were asking when theirs are going to ship out. We were shipping them out in batches. The next batch goes out tomorrow, and then the final batches until the final batch. The final batch will be like a week or two away, and that is specifically the bad batch. You guys are last, even though y'all were the first to order them. But there's a reason for that. You'll see. But everybody else's, yours should be shipped out by the end of this week. So everybody, they were going in batches, and they should all be out this week. Aside from the bad batch. The tore up room part can't be mad. Toronto's ahead. See, Sean's reminded me that Toronto's ahead of us. So, oh my God, does nobody ever say, okay, I played outfield when I played baseball, and the number one thing they always said is if you got a ball, especially if it's in between positions, right? Like you really, first of all, you're trying to pay attention to the ball, but you got to call it. Do these guys not hear? Can they not hear? What's going on? So many collisions. This is like the second time I've seen in the Yankees in the last like week or two where they've almost collided three dudes trying to catch a fly ball in shallow right. All right. Dylan's dog deserves a new bed. You're right. Yeah, screw Dylan. It's the dog that needs the bed. Big Herm says, baby steps, Robbie. We are playing better. Good Yankees. Yeah. I just love it, man. I don't feel like Herm can be critical of the Yankees. I just feel like it's impossible. It's impossible for you, Herm, to be critical of the Yankees. And I love that about you. I think that's amazing. I think that's great. But I think it's a bit naive, young man. I'm just kidding. No, but I love that. Support your team. I'm always down for the Yankees. But I will get pissed. But I'm not going to get pissed and be like I wouldn't boo them and shit like that. Philip wants to know how everybody feels about Star Trek comic books. Here's how I feel. For the most part, they're actually not very good, I don't think, overall. Like newer ones, older ones, whatever. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I enjoy Star Trek comics. I don't think they're good, but if you're a hardcore fan, I think that they're worth it. Honestly, though, I've never been completely blown away by one, I don't think. I mean, I've been reading a lot. I got a lot of them because I got the hardcover collections or whatever, but Like newer ones, I'm kind of pumped for the Mirror War thing, but I don't know. Fable says, you hitting the deadlifts, Robbie. Looking slimmer, brother. No deadlifts, but I did trim my beard. That may be it. We love you too, Nick. All right. Now let's talk about some comics. Let's look back before we look ahead at our favorite comic books of last week. Everybody, it's time. What was your favorite comic book of last week? In fact, what was your pick of the week? Mine is Ha Ha number 6. The final issue of Ha Ha is here, and it lived up to my expectations. So I know a lot of people were really hyped on this book when it first came out. It's from the writer of Ice Cream Man. So I know a lot of people were really, really hyped for this, including me. And it had a similar idea behind it. It's an anthology series, but it just so happens to all deal with clowns instead of being centered around this ice cream guy. And even the Ice Cream Man itself is like not always, it doesn't always seem like he's the prevalent figure, right? So 6 different stories by 6 different artists, all by the same writer, all about clowns. And the first one was really interesting, and I really liked it. The second one I thought was solid. The third one was the silent one that a lot of people didn't really like. And then, what was the fourth one? I don't remember what the fourth one was. The fifth one was the one with the old lady clown, which I really liked, and I did try that cauliflower casserole, and I thought it was pretty banger. This is the one that everybody's really been waiting for, though, because this is also by Martin Morazzo and Chris O'Halloran. So this is the exact same creative team of Ice Cream Man, through and through, from the writing down to the lettering. And it's an official tie-in to Ice Cream Man number 8. And I loved it. It's about a clown having a rough day. It's very much Joker-esque, like the movie Joker, and that's why you even have Joaquin Phoenix's Joker kind of show up. He gives him a gun, and he just kind of has a bad day, but this book is a crossover with Ice Cream Man number 8. So in Ice Cream Man number 8, you see this clown down there dead in a yard, and these kids surround him and find him. So this has a lot of nods. It really builds up into this whole... Okay, so what Ice Cream Man, what Ice Cream Man and what Ha Ha does, what W. Maxwell Prince does with these books is he's exploring human experience, right? And the idea, because if you read Ice Cream Man, some stories are actually very optimistic and full of hope at the end. Some stories are very tragic and end in a really messed up way, but they all say something very powerful. And this to me is kind of like the thesis of what Ha Ha's about and what Ice Cream Man's about. Ice Cream Man, I think, goes a little bit deeper into the crawly things inside of us. But Ha Ha, it's a book about clowns. It's a book about people that paint smiley faces or frowny faces on their face over the real emotion behind it. This is about the dichotomy of the human experience. There's a positive, there's a negative. There's an up and there's a down. As above, so below. Things like that. And it's about perspective. That's the point that gets across here, because basically the clown commits suicide. And right as he pulls the trigger, he realizes life is shit and life is grand. But it's how you react. It's how you think about it. It's incredibly profound and beautiful to me. So profound and beautiful that I want to read it. So as he's dying, he says, by the time I start to fully understand, it's already too late. And the last thing he says, by the way, is ha ha. I've pulled the trigger. The bullet is entering my skull, due to exit the other side in about a millisecond or less. And yet, I feel like I've got plenty of time. In my left eye, I see the world being torn apart by its worst, most natural impulses. I see how shitty it all is, how pointless. Then in my right, as he's saying this, by the way, the bullet's going from eye to eye. So that's interesting. The people of this town, of the entire God-forsaken world, reveal themselves to be beings made of pure, perfect light, not bugs, angels. And as he dies and falls, he goes, or maybe it's both. Everything is one thing. It's a choice, the way you look at it. I didn't realize. The choice. And I made the wrong one almost my entire life. Turns out the parakeet in my chest just wanted me to sing a song. Cuckoo Karate. A song. Do you hear it? Listen. And the book ends. So this is, of course, like I said, a crossover with issue number 8 of Ice Cream Man. So let me find that issue. In this issue, it's one of my favorite issues of Ice Cream Man. But in this issue, it's about these paramedics that are like super high on these drugs. They're just going across town in the midst of all this crazy, chaotic, just randomness that's happening. And in one part of the story, these kids come across the body of the damn clown. This is Ice Cream Man number 8. This book is already past issue 26. They take the clown and they give him a burial by sea. It's crazy that this book, Ice Cream Man number 8, was written so long ago, and now we have number beautiful, blows my mind. I thought it was amazing. I actually thought it was a rather lackluster week, but that one shined. Shined. It was my pick of the week. I want to know, what's your favorite comic book of last week? What did you think of What was your pick of the week? So let's take a look. Dun 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 dun. All right. Travis says he loved the Shadowhawk books behind me. You know, I first put those up, and the first video that they were up was on your interview, bro. I did that for you. Easy Reader says Eve, pick of the week. Tacky says Bunny Mask 2. Big Herm, haha. Ariaga, Batman the Detective. Jorm says, dude, the B cover is sick. Missing Link says, Bunny Mask number 2. You enjoyed it, Tacky? Bunny Mask 2 is something that I didn't really... there's something muddy about that to me. But I love the artwork. Andrea Muti is amazing. Seven Secrets says Eric. Easy Reader says, I'm glad is over. Don't know if I could have taken much more. Well, it's a choice. It's a rather simple story. It's just about a choice. Eddie says, 6 was my pick of the week, but Stillwater Short Story and Skybound X2 was really a close second. Being a cat owner, it would really hit me in the feels. Every issue of was great too. Eddie, I'm right there with you. Skybound X number 2 was, I thought, better than the first one. I was more into the stories, but that Stillwater story, you cannot miss out on that story if you're a Stillwater fan. You got to check it out. Reverse Amoeba says, was brilliant. Really liked Beyond the Breach and Never a lot as well. We didn't get any Nevers. Fable says, I really like Morazzo's artwork. Me too. Nick liked The Detective, Man-Eaters, and Beyond the Breach. Philip says, loved the Flash 2021 annual. Me too. They finally fixed Wally, baby. And he's back. He's Flash again in the new issue. We'll be talking about that in segment 2. Bunny Mask is an awesome anti-hero. Hey, what's up, Bryant? How are you doing? You're never late. You're right on time. Wherever you go, there you are. Hey, Bob from Everything Comics is here. Hey, how you doing, brother? Let's see. Can we get more Robbie reading comics to us? Bob says that issue was awesome. Everybody, by the way, if you're not subbed up to Everything Comics, definitely do. Bob's one of my homies here on YouTube. Super cool guy. Someone throw out a link. Dylan says, keep grinding, Robbie. This channel's awesome. Thank you. Y'all keep watching. I'll keep grinding. Keep making them. Sean says, I didn't even read but that synopsis you just gave made it for me. I'll have to look for the trade. Hell yeah. Patrick likes Seven Secrets. I thought Seven Secrets is great. I know there's some people that dropped out of that a little bit earlier on because it was just kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, that book just keeps getting better. I freaking love the hell out of that book. Bob says was my pick of the week for the story itself, but I did not think it was a good tie up to the series as a whole, but I love the tie into Ice Cream Man and how it was introspective. I thought that it was a good tie-up for the series, but I get what you're saying, and I respect it. But for me, it was a good tie-up for the series because all of these stories were about the choice. The guy in the very beginning who got the bullet through his head, and now it's all balloons. Like, he chose to see the most shitty events in the most positive way. And he got shot in the head and somehow made it through, right? In the last issue, it's about another clown who's going through the absolute shittiest day of his life, and he's made the wrong choices. He doesn't look at it. So I actually like the way. First of all, I think all the stories in the midst of them they all have that idea about it's how you look at it, right? And what I love about Haha number 6 and how it wraps up the series is the first issue is about a clown who's having the worst day of his life, and he cannot help but look at it positively. And then the last issue is about a clown who's having the worst day of his life, and he cannot help but look at it negatively. And both of them ultimately kind of have the same result. They ultimately both get shot in the head. It doesn't matter who had a more fulfilling life. Like, it's about the perspective. It's about the way that we put it on. I liked it. Maybe I'm stretching. Maybe I'm trying to do a little bit of a Reed Richards there, but that's what I loved so much about it. And why I thought it was a really solid wrap up for the whole art. Hey, we got a super chat from Two Fat Guys Pool Lists. $10 super chat. Thank you so much, homies. Everybody check them out. Thank you so much, Two Fat Guys Pool List. Everything Comics says, I can see that, Robbie, talking about the haha thing. I appreciate your perspective as always. And I appreciate your perspective as always, my friend. By the way, I'm not kidding. I really enjoyed that cauliflower casserole from the fifth, or is that the fifth issue? Was the fourth issue? I really liked it. Thank you for the super chat. That's $10. Let's see. Let's set a goal. If we get $25 more tonight, I'll write that down so we can deduct. We'll do the same thing we did last week. We'll just open up one of these Transformers. Y'all pick it. Joram says, Silver Coin. Who read it? Enjoying? I read it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I like it. And it bothers me. I really like the futuristic world that Jeff Lemire and the artist set up and created. But what is this silver? Like, I'm losing the thread of the Silver Coin. And I'll be honest, the thread of the Silver Coin to me was lost in the second issue. But I'm such a fan of summer camp slasher films. I was very forgiving of that issue. And now I'm just like, okay, if the Silver Coin's not going to, I mean, I'm not saying that it needs to have it, but I don't know. The first issue was a really great explanation of how that coin can affect someone. The second one I thought was a bit of a stretch. Okay, a little bit of a stretch, but I still enjoyed it. But in 3 and 4, it's just losing me. And I'm like, come on. But the next issue's by Ron V. So I'm very excited. I think that the Silver Coin seems like it's going to be a mixed bag. Media No says, do you have a Mount Rushmore of your comic book writers? If so, how close is Ron V to getting up there? Very, very close. We actually talked about this on the show Thursday with Dank and Caps. And my Mount Rushmore is Grant Morrison, Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, and either Hickman or V. Hickman's got more, I guess. It's difficult for me to say I got more trust in Hickman because I have complete trust and faith in Ron V. Anything that he does, I think I'm going to really, really like. But there's more of a body of work with Hickman. That spot used to be picked by Ellis, but I don't think we're going to get a lot of production from Ellis in the next few years. But Ron V's very freaking close. And in fact, you could just make a Rushmore of the White Noise Cats. Ron V, Dan Waters, Ryan O'Sullivan, and Alex Packnadell. And Dan Waters is another one that is rising very, very fast. And I'm very excited to see him and Danny, along with Dave Stewart, on that new Arkham City book. Like that concept on any other team, I really wouldn't be that excited for. But Dan Waters and Danny, the team of Coffin Bound, teaming up now with Dave Stewart on colors to do a Batman story. Take my fucking money now, bro. Jeff Lemire has been hit or miss recently, says Eric. Hope Primordial is great, though. I'm sure it will. I mean, I don't think he's missed yet when he's working with Andrea and Jordy. Bob says, hated the last issue of Silver Coin. I followed it all the way to end and then did not understand the ending. Me neither. She gets the coin's there. Like in the first story, the coin literally was affecting the story. You're right. Like, and it was obvious. Even and then the second one, I would argue that was even affecting. But in 3 and 4, it's losing it. Is the Megatron from the Kingdom line back there? Because I would love to see that unboxed. Yes, that is. It's up there. But that's open. So the goal is $25 more. If we hit it, we are going to open up either the Optimus Primal, the Kingdom Megatron, which is the T-Rex Megatron. I got what's his name? Grimlock up there. And I got Jazz and Hot Rod. Last week we opened Soundwave and it was awesome. John says this was the only issue I didn't like. Patrick wants to know, is anybody watching the Fear Street trilogy? And if so, what'd you think? I haven't watched it yet. Bueller messaged back and said he was good. Good. Daredevil does rule. They just get out of prison. Let's wrap that story up and let's get a little bit more momentum going on Daredevil again. God damn, John just took care of it. So we'll be opening up we're going to open up a Transformer tonight and we'll let you guys pick. So we'll do the pick do the pick now. What do you want to see opened up tonight? Jazz, Hot Rod, Optimus Primal, the Dinosaur Megatron, or Grimlock. So, thank you so much. Somebody keep tabs of the votes. Yeah. Let me tell you about this little man I know. His name is Hellboy. He was sent to the earth some long time ago to save it or destroy. Brought to this earth by Rasputin, son of a demon and a nun who had sex with the demon, but was raised by Professor Broom. Now he fights evil and monsters. a man who's a fish named Dave. Now he fights with the fire starter named Liz, and an ectoplasmic mess named Johan. BPRD. Well, that was super, super fun. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate the super chats. Thank you, John. We will be opening up. It looks like Megatron's in the lead right now. I do want to say real quick, greetings. Jennifer from Comics Will Break Your Heart. See you out there in the chat. Fish Tropic. I need to fry some Bilbo meat and drop some maple syrup on it. I know what those words mean, just not together. So is it Megatron that's winning? Someone tally, let's see. Hey, Mike's in the house. Cryo Prime's in the house. What's up? Megatron is winning, eh? Okay. All right, keep tallying up the votes. And what we're going to do right now is take a look at what's coming up in comic shops this week. By the way, if you want to know what is coming up in comic shops, you definitely need to check out Comics with Bueller, because on Wednesdays he drops a preview video of what's coming up in shops the very next week. And he shows you all the covers, and it's also entertaining. So you definitely need to check that out. I didn't realize I didn't have this pulled up yet, but we're just going to pull it up. We're going to take a look at what's coming up in shops. And as we go through the list, run through it quick, think about what are you most excited for. In shops this week, from Image Comics, Ascender number 17. Chew, number 6. Compass, number 2. Deadly Class, number 47. Home, number 4. Homesick Pilots, number 7. Jupiter's Legacy, Requiem, number 2. Philadelphia, number 15. Mom, Mother of Madness, number 1. That's the one from, what's her name, from Game of Thrones. Radiant Black, number 6. Shadecraft, number 5. Skybound X, number 3. A second printing of Spawn's Universe, number 1. Siphon, number 1. That's a new one. Time Before Time, number 3. Undiscovered Country, number 14. And Walking Dead Deluxe, number 19. That's the first Michonne appearance. So, first appearance of Michonne again. Was that a spec book? From Dark Horse Comics, we got Apex Legends Overtime, number 2. Black Hammer Reborn, number 2. Still haven't read the first one. Tales from Harrow County, Fairfolk, number 1, the first part of a 4-issue miniseries. From IDW, we have Bermuda, number 1. Bermuda, number 1. We got Godzilla, Monsters and Protectors, number 4. Marvel Action Spider-Man, number 4. My Little Pony, Transformers 2, number 4. Sonic the Hedgehog, number 42. Star Wars High Republic Adventures, number 6. And Usagi Yojimbo, number 21. From Marvel, we've got Alien number 5, Captain Marvel number 30, Extreme Carnage Phage number 1, Gamma Flight number 2. I know one thing I'm not looking forward to. Guardians of the Galaxy number 16, Marauders number 22, Miles Morales Spider-Man number 28, Moon Knight number 1. His name was Moon Knight. New Mutants number 20. Reptile number 3, Savage Avengers number 22, Star Wars Darth Vader number 14, Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters Jabba the Hutt one-shot, a Thor annual. Don't worry, it's not written by Donny Cates. It's part of the Infinite Destinies thing. It's just not been very good. X-Men Legends number 5, returning to the days of Peter David's X-Factor. From Dynamite, we have Deja Thoris versus John Carter of Mars number 1. Lots of covers there. We got James Bond, Agent of Spectre, number 5. And Vengeance of Vampirella, number 20. From Boom Studios, we got a new release. It's Dark Blood, number 1. So whenever a new number 1 comes from Boom, pay attention to it, because Netflix got that first look deal. So there you go. We got Firefly, brand new verse, number 5. The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, number 4. Okay. Hell yeah. Power Rangers, number 9. Proctor Valley Road, number 5. That's the final issue. Save Yourself, number 2. That's from Boom Studios. From other publishers, we've got Beckstar, number 3, from friend of the show, Joe Corallo and Mad Cave Studios. We got Gods of Brutality, number 1. It's a new one from Scout. Also from Scout, we have Lunar Ladies, number 1. We have Eros Psyche, number 5. Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal, number 3. The Girl Who Electrified Tesla, number 4. Nottingham, number 5. That's the final issue of that series for Mad Cave. Project Patron, number 4. Rick and Morty, Rick's New Hat, number 2. Second Coming returns. That's right. Only Begotten Son, number 3. Silver City, number 3. Stake, number 5 from Scout. Tales of Terror. Game Night, number 1 from Xenoscope. Trailer Park Boys has a effing comic book, number 1. And Wasted Space, number 22. Holy freaking cow. What book am I most looking forward to this week? Well, I could easily say The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. New book, next penultimate issue of that series by Rom V. I could also easily say Homesick Pilots by Dan Waters. I could also easily say Wasted Space by Michael Morisi and Hayden Sherman, one of my favorite comics out there. But I'll gotta be honest, the book I'm most looking forward to is in fact a DC comic book, and it's called Superman and the Authority. I've read it. I'm going to talk about it, but that's when we get back from this break. But I want to know, what are y'all excited for? So let's take a look. Take a look. Take a look. Megatron is winning, okay. No Tom Taylor Superman this week. Joram likes those Dynamite cosplay covers. Fish Tropic, looking forward to Mom. Missing Link, Radiant Black, Shadecraft, and Skybound X. Nick says, there's too many books to mention that I'm excited about. It's going to be a good week, isn't it? Patrick's looking forward to Radiant Black and Moon Knight, number 1. Jennifer's looking forward to Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Travis says, pumped for Shadecraft, number 5. Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal, 3. And The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, number 4. No Homesick Pilots, young man? Bob says, I am excited for Dark Blood and Mom, both number 1s. Then Homesick Pilots, Beckstar, and Radiant Black. Those are the ones I'm most excited about this week. Isn't Beckstar amazing? Joe is doing a hell of a job on that book. It is freaking fantastic. By the way, I've read issue number 3. It's dope. It's dope as hell. Brian's looking forward to Miles Morales, Radiant Black, Nightwing, Alien, Dark Blood, to name just a few. Tacky says, Blue and Gold. That's the Booster Gold Blue Beetle series coming out. We'll be talking about that in a little bit after the break. John says, Superman and the Authority. Stefan says, oh, Robbie, you just sold me on Superman and the Authority without even saying anything. Jennifer is really looking forward to Mom, Layla Starr, Moon Knight, Homesick Pilots, and Trailer Park Boys. Megatron 1. We'll be opening up Megatron tonight. Taki says, and Catwoman is the best book out there. Rom V on the words, Frizzin on the cover. Bob says, oh yeah, Blue and Gold, way excited for that one. Miles has a nice cover. Big Herm says, excited about everything that comes out this week. John just finished Homesick Pilots number 6, loving it. Phillips pumped for Nightwing. BJ, Station. He says, Station Robbie, who works so hard for us, put your hand together for him. Thank you, brother. All right. We're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, DC Sneak Peek, we'll be talking about the last episode of Loki, full-on spoilers, and I'll be doing a movie review of Black Widow. It's going to be a fun bit. Y'all, see you in a minute. What's up, everybody? Welcome back here to Rockin Robbie Live here on Pop Culture Philosophers. I am your host, Rockin Robbie Billups, and I'm here. Let's chat. Let's talk about comic books, movies, pop culture, and a whole lot more. Coming up in this segment, we got a DC comic sneak peek. The DC comic books coming out this week. I've read them. I'm going to let you know what I think about them. First thoughts here tonight live. Then we'll be talking about Loki. In fact, we'll be talking Loki on Loki, the final episode of season 1. What did I think? I'm going to let you know. And we're going to talk about it full on spoilers. And then I'll be giving my thoughts on the Black Widow film just released from Marvel Studios. That being said, you can follow Pop Culture Philosophers on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you're on Facebook, you might as well join PCP Army, the official Pop Culture Philosophers Facebook group. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheRockinRobbie. You can find podcasts and more at popculturephilosophers.com. You can support the channel through Super Chats or over at patreon.com/PCP. Like these fine PCP patriots right there. Thank you so much. And KC, can I just say, bruh, you're doing an amazing job in support. Thank you so much. We just hope we live up to the hype. Anyway, that being said, we're about to kick off into this new bit, this new stuff, and I'm really excited. This show, though, is driven, fueled, if you will, by your questions, your thoughts, your comments, your concerns. Get them out. What do you want to talk about? Let's have some after break topics, as Joram says right there. Hell yeah. Coming up this week, our live shows, Action Fest, Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. We'll be talking about all 3 John Wick movies. I haven't watched a single one yet. I'm watching the first one tonight after the stream, and I'm very, very excited. Then we got Dylan's Horror Show. We're doing the show that should have been delivered yesterday, but some stuff happened, and Dylan broke a bed, and then, I don't know if he broke a bed, but that's the new bit. Dylan broke his bed and couldn't do the show, and now we're doing it this upcoming Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Time. Silver Bullet, Bad Moon, a werewolf double feature. We now pause for station identification. All right, and we're back. How's everybody doing? Did you have a good break there? Yankees still up. That's good. What about the Bucks yesterday? Holy cow. Is the series going in a different direction? Is it not going to be a big Suns story? Stefan says, both Robbie and Dylan getting that cardio in. When are you doing an all 5 Jason Bourne films review? William, we've already done it. We did it last year for Action Fest. You should check it out. I think on that show, it was just me, Brooks, and Mike. I know like everybody was like, Bourne. But no, we covered all 5 Bourne movies last year. Robbie, why Oni Press and other comics company push only 1 or 2 comics in a week? Because there's not a market for them to push more. They don't really... Oni Press right now does not sell very well. Rick and Morty's kind of keeping a lot of it afloat because it's the licensed property, but even that has really died down a lot. Is there a new Rick and Morty tonight? Right? There's at least one more before. Like how many are they doing before they cut into a break or something? But that's why. I mean, I don't think that the market is wanting as many books that are out each week. Right? There's a lot of comic books that come out each and every week, and a lot of new number ones. And I don't think the market necessarily wants that, but number one sales kind of drive the market, but Oni is just not the factor they used to be, and it's kind of a sad sight to see because I mean there's a lot of indie comics. There's always been a lot of indie publishers, but like at a certain point Oni kind of was like dominating, but they did depend on for instance Kevin Smith kind of like was the first reason why I paid attention to them because they published the Clerks and comic books with Jim Mahfood on the art. Kevin Smith wrote. They're fantastic. Clerks and Clerks the Holiday Special are freaking fantastic. Freaking fantastic. And the Jay and Silent Bob miniseries, they did that. And then they were also doing some really, really freaking good stuff with, like, Judd Winnick was doing The Adventures of Barry Ween, Boy Genius. Greg Rucka was doing Whiteout, and that led to Queen and Country, which is really, really good. Oni Press used to be a super, super, once Bob Schreck left, Oni suffered. I agree. Have I seen the new Moon Knight comic? No, I haven't actually gotten a look at it yet. I may actually have access to it, but I haven't looked. Marvel does a good job sometimes of doing like previews to retailers of their new number ones, their big launches, but they got all these watermarks on them, and sometimes it's not even finished artwork. Like, it's literally just like pencils. Like, I've read previews for Marvel that are just, they go from inked art, like no colors, but just inked art with lettering, to pencil sketches, like with lettering, like wild. Oh snap! Yeah, there was five Bourne films. Yeah. Basically the way it came down to it was that 1, 2, and 3 we really like. 4 had potential, and 5 just felt like too little, too late. They were bigger than Dark Horse for a while. That's another sad thing to see, is what's been happening over the last few years with for instance, the kind of like not the fall, but the decline of Dark Horse. So that's unfortunate. I bet they were bigger than the Dark Horse for a while, because there was a talent exodus from Dark Horse. Dark Horse really established themselves firmly. Now, obviously, they had licenses, Star Wars and Aliens, and Predator and things like that, Buffy. But by the late 90s into the early 2000s, a lot of that had lost steam. Buffy was still doing strong for them, but like even the Star Wars books, they just weren't selling that well for them. I mean, they were doing decent. They were doing what they were expected to, but it wasn't like they are today. They weren't selling like they are today. And so that was kind of fizzling out for them. And they had a talent exodus. Like Miller was done with Sin City. Hellboy was kind of few and far between. Madman was moving over to self-published over to Atomics. That's what Mike Allred was doing. John Byrne was out, and it was those creators: Paul Chadwick, Mike Mignola, Frank Miller, Stan Sakai. But Stan Sakai has always maintained the Usagi stuff, but it's just hit a point where it just is kind of self-sufficient, right? So it didn't really help as far as overall sales. But so I do buy that for a time, Oni was probably stronger than DC, but I don't know that for a fact. That would be definitely something interesting to look into. Philip says, I might be among the few that like the Jeremy Renner Bourne movie. I might be one of the few that actually wouldn't really liked Jeremy Renner in the Mission Impossible films. Like, we did all 6 Mission Impossible films last year, and my favorite one is 4. I mean, 6 pretty dope too. 6 pretty dope too, but I really like 4. And Jeremy Renner's a big part of that. I think if Tom Cruise wouldn't have come back, he would have been fine. Don't you just feel bad for him, though? So, Jeremy Renner plays the one hero in the MCU that doesn't get a solo film in the Avengers, right? He plays... he was supposed to be the replacement for Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise, in Mission Impossible. That didn't pan out. He was supposed to be the replacement for Jason Bourne for Matt Damon, and that didn't pan out. Legacy had potential. It did. So did Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne had potential. But those first 3, bro, I love Bourne Identity and Bourne Supremacy and the Bourne Ultimatum. I love the hell out of those movies. Yeah, Oscar Isaac's really cool in Jason. That's Jason? No, that's 4. Yeah, that's Legacy. Yeah, you're right. That's a really, really good bit. What's up, Manny? How are you doing? Just back from camp, packing but listening. Hell yeah, brother. What's up, Entropy in Comics? By the way, I haven't built up the thumbnail yet, but Comics Revisited, Season 3, Episode 2. It's the book club of the month now. It's coming up on the 26th of July. So that's going to be a Monday night, not this Monday, but I think it's the next Monday. Me, Manny, Jelani, and Jay Strick talking about Infinite Crisis. So join us for that. Twitch is in the house. I wanted to like the Jeremy Renner Bourne movie, but that movie was so boring. I liked some bits, like that bit with Oscar Isaac, like that stuff. There's moments in it that are good. To me, it's Jason Bourne's the worst one. Like, it just felt like a shallow attempt at trying to recapture something that was lost. It should have just ended at the trilogy, probably. Let's be honest. I mean, I think they're still writing Bourne books. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Bourne books. Robert Ludlum, you could just pillar all of his IP. You know what I'm saying? His estate will just probably like collect the checks. I just love the way he names his books too. They're always there's like an adjective or some kind of descriptive, and then it's always like it's like just like the Bourne identity. What are the other ones? I'm gonna look it up real quick because it's escaping me right now. But they all have the same kind of setup of names. Here we go. The Scarlatti Inheritance, the Osterman Weekend, the Matlock Paper. They're all like this. You get what I'm saying? They're like all like this. It's so funny to me. The Hades Factor. What else we got? The Hallcroft Covenant, the Mauderice Circle. They're all like that. Anyway. Super fun. Yeah, Ludlum only wrote the 3 Bourne novels. And there were other people that were writing all the other stuff. That's the thing. He only wrote the 3. And so maybe they should have just stopped making the movies after the 3. If you like Bourne 4 and 5, that's fine. I think Legacy has potential, but it didn't develop. And then I just didn't like Jason Bourne. I thought it was kind of like a pale attempt to recapture the magic. I love those first 3. But I credit a lot of that to Doug Liman and Paul Greengrass. But of course, Greengrass came back for Jason Bourne, but the vibe wasn't there. I don't know. What's up, Chaos and Comics Station? Bob says, we are such a pop culture-centric house. I am working on a squadron of dire Avengers for my Warhammer 40K army while listening to Robbie wax lyrical, and my wife is streaming Picard. There you go. Bourne movies are very different from the novels. It's been a long time since I read those novels. Those movies just felt like they repeated the same plot with slight differences for 5 movies. I don't know. I think 1, 2, and 3 are super solid. I didn't see anybody see the what is it, Treadstone, right? The TV series? I never saw that. Did y'all? Anybody? It's got a nice, like, punchy style to it visually, which I like. And it's kind of like, it's a very punchy movie that is character-oriented, which I really, really like. Is John Wick character-oriented? I'm pumped for John Wick. I've never seen him. I've heard nothing but good things about him. All right, it's time for the DC Comics sneak peek. I've read this upcoming week's DC Comics, and now we're going to talk about them. First up, and I'm going to do this in the order that I read them. Superman Red and Blue, number 5? Yes, number 5 of 6. Really like this issue. This is one of the best issues of Superman Red and Blue yet. Judd Winnick and Ibrahim Mustafa did a really fantastic job with a crypto Superboy story. G. Willow Wilson, Valentine De Landro did a really solid story that focused more on Clark Kent and how Superman can kind of handle certain situations differently. Josh Williamson, Chris Sprouse, what was their story? Oh, yeah, they did a really nice Jimmy Olsen story that I thought was really, really cool, and it had a nice little touching moment. Mark Buckingham, I was really excited, but I don't know. His story didn't really do much for me. It just kind of retold some stuff. And then Daniel Warren Johnson does what I think is the best story in Superman Red and Blue so far. And yes, I know Dan Waters and Danny did that one in issue 1 that was so amazing. But what Daniel Warren Johnson does here with the story about Jonathan Kent, like, the father, and Superman, like, holy cow. That was really good. That's the best issue of that yet. Shazam number 1. It's a new Shazam series. It's spinning out of the pages of Teen Titans Academy, and it's Tom Sheridan, Clayton Henry. This was okay. I wasn't actually looking forward to it because I'm not a fan of Teen Titans Academy, and it does lean into that a little bit because Billy Batson's part of Teen Titans Academy, but the gist of this is that something has happened to the Rock of Eternity, and his powers are getting all effed up. And now he has them sometimes, and he doesn't, and he can't share them with the Marvel family, and there's some really dramatic kind of twists and turns about what's going on with the Marvel family. So I actually liked it. It's not nowhere near as strong as what we've gotten out of like Jeff Johns or Jeff Loveness over the last few years, but it was okay. I liked it. It wasn't bad. It was decent. It was interesting enough plot-wise for me to be like, it's an interesting take on Shazam. At the same time, though, it is a bit Teen Titans Academy-y at times. Then we have Justice League number 65. I don't know, man. If you're the person that really liked what Bendis was trying to set up and do at DC from the start with the Superman run and with all the Event Leviathan stuff, this is a book for you, because he's all those threads that are dangling from Superman and Event Leviathan, all the stuff. Like, he was cut short on Superman, and the Event Leviathan stuff didn't, they're doing Checkmate now, but it's just it's low key, okay? And if you're a fan of that, you'll like this, I guess. It's got some nice superhero action. It's Bendis-y. It feels like the earlier issues of Avengers that Bendis did, or more like New Avengers, maybe, in a way. So it's kind of structured that way, and it's kind of loose and decompressed, and it's okay. It's okay. The Ram V story in the back, though, with Sumit Kumar, bruh. A reuniting of the team behind The Savage Shores on a Justice League Dark story with a lot of focus in on Batman and Dr. Fate. Loved that part. Really, really did. Legends of the Dark Knight, number 3. This wraps up the Derek Robertson story. I don't know if it's going to... I don't know if he's continuing... I don't know what the plan is for issue 4. But this was all right. New villain quiz. They kind of wrapped that up in a nice little bow. And then the last little chapter. Reading it as an issue like this, it feels very jarring, the way that the story is structured. But if you realize that this was digital first, so this is actually 2 chapters merged into one. So... I think they should have defined that a little bit more, like chapter blah, 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 chapter blah, 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 right? That would have helped make it not feel so jarring. But overall, pretty solid book. It's always nice to see Derek Robertson. He was he just recently did Space Bastards, and of course the artist on Transmetropolitan and The Boys. So it's really cool to see him do a very classic Batman type story with classic villains and introducing a new villain, Quiz. So there you go. Well, the introduction was last issue. That's the origin. So then we got Blue and Gold, number 1, written by Dan Jurgens, right? So it's a Booster Gold, Blue Beetle story. They're usually fun and silly. This is an 8-issue miniseries. It's got artwork by Ryan Sook. And I'm like, wow, that's actually quite a crazy artist to put on a book like this, right? I mean, I know there are a lot of fans from this era of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, whatever. But if you're going to do a Booster Gold story, it's always nice to have Dan Jurgens involved. The artwork is fine. The story is fine. It's decent. How do I do this without spoiling it? The setup, like what the story is about, I really like it. There's a moment where Blue Beetle is offered something, the Booster's not. And his friendship takes, like, I think it's rather touching. Booster Gold gets really annoying to me sometimes, so he's a bit annoying to me here. The Blue Beetle stuff, they're still trying to fix Ted Kord and get him cemented back to what he used to be. Ever since the countdown to Infinite Crisis, and he got killed by Max Lord, and then they brought him back, and then they were trying to push Ryan Choi. They didn't know what to do with him, and then he was a villain recently in Suicide Squad. And what's going on there? They don't know what to do. They never know what to do with this character sometimes. But it feels like Dan Jurgens trying to get back on track, feel a bit more classic, and that's something I appreciate. So Blue and Gold was pretty solid. It was all right. Flash. I was really excited to read this. This is Flash 772. I was really, really pumped to read this one because after the events of the Flash Annual, which I love, they fixed everything that they have done wrong, all the dirty deeds that they've done to Wally West, or ever since Flash Rebirth, right? It's all done, and he is the Flash again, and now he's up against Heatwave. Heatwave has a new motivation. There's a new twist there that's interesting, and Wally's got a new motivation too. He's got to find a job, so it's interesting to see them kind of go in that, but it's also nice to see Wally West be this hopeful, optimistic, positive, vibrant, funny Flash character again. That's my Flash, Wally West, baby. Then we got Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, number 2 of 8 from Tom King, Bill Keys, Evely, and Matthew Lopez. Artwork is amazing. I love the artwork. This is the exact same art team behind the Simon Spurrier Dreaming series, which if you're a Sandman fan and you haven't read that, shame. You need to read that. This is okay. I like what's going on. This is basically True Grit in space with Supergirl playing John Wayne. So, I mean, that's exactly what it is. This woman, this young lady, like her father was killed by this dude. Supergirl happens to be on the planet. In the first issue, she's drinking on the planet. She goes to this planet because there's a red sun. She doesn't have her powers, and she can get drunk. It's her 21st birthday. She goes there with Crypto. And then this whole situation gets involved. She gets messed up. Crypto gets messed up. There's some really sad moments in this book, but the way that it's told is rather obnoxious. Like, I get it. It feels so Western-y with the dialogue. The dialogue of this character right here, I don't remember her name, but the woman whose father was killed, and now she's basically got Supergirl being her bodyguard. She's going to help her avenge the death, right? It's True Grit, straight up. And Tom King knows that, and he's writing it like a Western, but it's sci-fi oriented, but it is overly verbose at times. Like, and I get it. Like, one of the best things about Westerns is the way that people can talk. Like, not to be offensive or nothing, but like dumb people talk very intelligently sometimes in some Westerns. Like, think about Deadwood, right? And it's really funny, but it's also nice, and it has this nice like syncopation to it. But it really bogs down this story that also then shifts to explain something that we already got. This is kind of Yankees home run. Station. Odor. Hell yeah. 2-run shot, 5-0 Yankees over the Red Sox. Anyway, so that being said, I like the story. I like the idea. I appreciate it. I love the artwork. But Tom King, he's getting a bit self-indulgent, I think, sometimes with his scripts. And he could tighten things up and make it work a little bit better. Catwoman number 33. Ron V is doing a great job on Catwoman, doing a run that's as good as what Ed Brubaker did with Darwin Cook or Cam Stewart, right? But like, really solid stuff. Fernando Blanco's artwork is great. There's a little bit of I love it. I thought it was great. Basically, Catwoman is now like Queen of Alleytown. There's this assassin that's after her, sent against her by the Penguin, and that confrontation happens here finally between Father Valley and Catwoman, and it was really well done. Ron V is a really intelligent literary writer. And you can see that in things like Swamp Thing, and you can see that in his creator-owned work like Blue and Green, or Mini Deaths of Layla Starr, or These Savage Shores, or the upcoming Radio Apocalypse, I'm sure. But what he can do with just a simple, fun, heisty-type book, this is so mainstream, but it works. And he brings over that sensibility and defines it clearly in its own vision. Catwoman is still one of my favorites right now, too. 33, awesome. Then we got Nightwing number 82. Tom Taylor. So a big revelation in the last issue is that Nightwing's got a sister, and she's actually the daughter of Tony Zuko, the man responsible for the death of his parents. So this is the full-on origin of Melinda Zuko. How she's tied into Dick Grayson, how she's his sister, the connection to the family, the Zuko. It's a little bit of retconning on some things about the Graysons and their past, but it was still pretty well done. It does got Bruno Redondo on the artwork, but then most of the issue is a flashback, and it's got a different artist. But the artist does a fine enough job, and it's Rick Leonardi. He's a veteran. And Neil Edwards. Man, 3 pencilers. But anyway, I thought that I actually liked it. I don't think it's as strong as some of the previous issues, but it's a big info dump, but it's a needed info dump that's actually handled very well. It's still an exciting book to read. It's not boring or nothing like that, and it doesn't feel not exciting. But it's just telling the story, and then it kind of brings it back. But without part of the real appeal of this book is that sense of style that with different artists doesn't quite carry over, but at the same time the story is still appealing. So that's good. And then my most anticipated book this week, and my pick of the week so far as DC goes. This is my favorite DC book I read, and it was Superman and the Authority, #1 of 4. This is you can piece together some things. This is basically originally written, I think, by Grant as part of the 5G initiative. So if Bleeding Cool's kind of got a breakdown of the timeline that they've recently put out, and that's cool to look at. That would have been really interesting to see where DC was going to go as far as that goes. But this kind of fits in that timeline, and we know that Grant Morrison wrote this a while ago. This does make Grant's official final work at DC for the time being. We knew that it was coming to an end, their time at DC. It's come to an end before, and now it's come to an end again. So this is, think of it as an Elseworlds. We're in an omniverse. We're in an infinite frontier. So this is like an Elseworlds tale of a Superman who was alive in the 60s and promised JFK that he would try to fix the world. And then today, realizing that he can't, and he wants some new voices. And so he finds Manchester Black, who is kind of an amalgam of a John Constantine and Jenny Sparks. Like that kind of British attitude, punk rock, telekinetic, telepathic. First debuted in Action Comics 775, which was kind of like an issue that Joe Kelly did with Doug. Was it Doug Mahnke? Anyway, but Joe Kelly did this amazing issue, Action Comics 775. What's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way, where if heroes like the Authority are the new thing, heroes like the Ultimates, like, and at that time it was this very cynical look at superheroes. Where does Superman work in this world? And Manchester Black was kind of created in that vein. Anyway, really great setup here. So now Superman's trying to get new voices, including Manchester Black. One of the people, there's a moment in here where Superman goes, I usually find the good in everybody. There's only a couple of people that I legitimately can say I hate, and you are one of them. But he's offering him this chance. This book was awesome. Grant Morrison in a very clean, clear, concise type way of writing. Sometimes their work is a bit psychedelic, which I love. Green Lantern was sometimes hard to grasp. But this one is kind of easy to digest, easy to get into, especially when you realize it's tied into continuity as much as you want it to be, And so this just focuses mostly on Superman and Manchester Black, but we have the promised team of Natasha as Steel, Midnighter, and Apollo, and I don't know who these other two people are supposed to be. Off the top of my head, maybe they're newer, but yeah, I really liked it. So it's only going to be 4 issues. Mikkel Hanen's doing the artwork. It was clean. It was clear. Bruh. This was fan-freaking-tastic. Ladies, gentlemen, and others, this was awesome. And I know we got a new Ram V book out this week. And I know we got a new Dan Waters book out this week. And I know we got a new Michael Morisi book out this week. But yo, this gave me everything I wanted. But it's going to be sad to see Grant not doing consistent work at DC, though they haven't been doing as much as they have been in the past. But that was still cool, and that's my DC Comics sneak peek. All right. I probably missed a lot of y'all's chat, but that's okay. If I missed something, just throw it back out. But I really like Superman and the Authority. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel out of place. It felt real. Like, why would Superman start the Authority? And if you know the Authority and Superman, and like, why would that? Like, first of all, it's just an interesting statement that Grant's making about the merging of these two styles of hero, and it's also just, I don't know. It's just also there's something really, really clever about it that I thought, and it's very simple. Somebody talking smack about Tom King. I think Tom King's okay. There are some times where, like, there are books I like and books I don't, right? Like, I don't really like overall his Batman run, but, like, I really love Omega Men. I really love The Vision. I really love Mr. Miracle. I'm loving Strange Adventures. I'm liking Rorschach, but it's starting to be like, bruh, like, you could have done this in 6 issues. Like, you're like, there's the artists that he gets to work with go a long way, I think, with him now. I hate Heroes in Crisis. Cannot stand that book. So I don't know. I would say that I am a fan of Tom King, but he's hitting this point where I think he's been criticized for being too breezy of a writer. Like his scripts are very, very, very sparse. And I think he's trying to rectify that by being a little bit more verbose. And I think it comes across not in a good manner. And I don't think that it helps the storytelling. he has been able to work. He's been blessed with working with some of the greatest artists in the industry. He's doing it right now. Doc Shaner, Mitch Gerrits, Jorge Fornes, Bill Keys-Evely, and just let them do the work, bruh. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't mind a sparse script as long as it's working. Wow, overly verbose. Robbie hasn't said that one for a minute. Well, I think it's a valid criticism of books because it's a visual medium. It's got to pop visually. And I'm not against a lot of words. There's a way to make it work. Dan Waters can make it work. Ron V can make it work. Alex Packnadell's been able to make it work. You work with your artists and in the letterer, you know, and maybe that's something that's lacking in some of these other books. But sometimes it's just literally, it depends on what it is. If it's literary, right? Here's the thing. If it's literary and if it's like beautiful wordage, like a great way to use words, like literally what a writer, like great writers do, I think it works. But when you're trying to merge your style into that, like I feel like in Supergirl, this issue, it's a bit try hard. Overall, though, I will say I like the idea of a Supergirl story that's like True Grit and it hits the right emotional beats, but it's clunky because the way that he's writing it is halting the pace of the book and halting a lot of what the art can do, in my opinion. Fat Batman says, I've got a lot of books I want to have cleaned up before graded. No clue where to start. Start with your favorites. Start with the ones that mean the most to you. John says Savage Hearts was his pick of the week. Savage Hearts was really good. I like Aubrey Sitterson as a writer. Really love No One Left to Fight. I thought Beef Bros #1 was fantastic. I missed out on The Stoned Master. God damn it. I'm so pissed about that. I have to try to get that one. But I was so looking forward to Worst Dudes, and I just did not like it. But really, really liked Savage Hearts. Didn't Superman kill one of the Authority on the moon in the early 2000s? He didn't kill him, but I think you're referencing 775. I think. Yankees playing good tonight. Da-da-da-da-da. Put Grant Morrison on Doctor Strange. That would be cool, but Grant's never going to work for Marvel again, I don't think. Marvel's not a good fit for Grant, I don't think. Let's see. Media No. Do you think DC is on top of Marvel right now? I think their talent, Williamson, Tynan, V, etc., are firing on all cylinders. I do. I think DC is a much stronger publisher right now than Marvel as far as quality and content of the stories go. So I would agree with that. I think the overall direction of the company, too, feels more concrete, feels more together. Bob says, before the end of that Batman run, he was Mr. Eisner Award for like 3 years in a row. Now I think he gets too much shade thrown on him. He's a good writer still. I like Tom King. I feel like he's trying to adapt his style to go against some of the criticism he's gotten, and I don't think it's working. And it's happening to me right now in the pages of Rorschach and in Supergirl. He really draws out his shit. And I think that's what he should focus on. Not on trying to be more dialogue heavy or be more nuanced in his use of language. I mean, that would be fine too, but there was a lyrical quality to his dialogue in some of his earlier work that I really, really like. Like, look at Vision. There's a lyrical quality to that. Even some of his Batman work, which I think is strong, has a lyrical quality. He's losing that. He's losing that by trying to be a little bit more dense. And I don't think it works for his style. I think he can still evolve and elevate his usage of the language, but he can do that with still having this kind of like terse, lyrical kind of quality to it. He's losing that, and he's working with some great artists that are not getting the time to shine with just excessive exposition dumps. And that's what the last Rorschach was. And Jorge Fornes carried that book for the last few issues through exposition dumps. And then finally in this last issue last week, he just couldn't keep up anymore. He was like, fine, I'm just going to do it. But the one thing that he does need to work on is he can tell more story in less time. Like Rorschach is 12 issues, probably should have been 6 to 8. I'm pumped that Supergirl is 8, but after you read issue number 2, bro, that literally could have been 5 pages. Like this whole thing could have been 5 pages. In fact, there's actually a bit that's repeated twice. Anyway, it annoyed me. But that being said, Vision, Omega Man, Mr. Miracle, Strange Adventures, I'm really loving those. And for the most part, I love Rorschach, but I'm just like, we can get to the point a little bit quicker. If he did that Batman run in 50 issues, I think it would have been a brilliant run. He had some really interesting ideas to say about the character of Batman and who Bruce Wayne was and why he did what he did and why he denied himself certain things. And I think that was really good, but he really, that's what I meant by self-indulgent. It's kind of like what Nick Spencer's doing. He's taking more time to let it develop. And nothing's wrong with developing stories. I love the subplot and the things that build and come up, but that's not what we're talking about really when we're talking about Tom King, because there's not a lot of subtlety and subplots. There wasn't a lot of subplots in his Batman run. It was just, and there's a lot of stuff that was built up to be something big, and it wasn't. Like the Gotham Girl stuff. Like, was it? Like, where's Gotham Girl? Nobody gives a shit. But anyway. If you could put Tynan on a Marvel run, which would you choose? For Tynan? Ghost Rider. That's where I'd put him. But they'd put on something bigger. Tynan, though, Ghost Rider. New Warriors? Not Ghost Thrasher. What are the best future state stories out there? All the Magistrate stuff, Dark Detective is really good. The best, I think, is Swamp Thing. I think Aquaman's really good, too. Not too long ago, I did top 5 future state books. I should cut that out and put it out. Bob says, I agree. Tom King needs to stop listening to people and write good stories. Put Grant on a Dr. Fate comic. Take my money, please. Oh, I want to see a 5-year run of Grant on Flash. But I think Grant's been trying to go Hollywood, and I think they're getting closer. Brave New World was a really cool show. I really liked it. Happy was a big production. Hey, we got 90 people in here right now. 10 more, we hit 100. We haven't hit 100 in a while, so that'd be super cool, guys. See if you can get all your friends on. Who's doing the best artwork at DC right now? Well, now that Greg Capullo's not there, let's see. Jorge Jimenez. That's my pick. Best art at DC right now is Jorge Jimenez. Number 2 is Dan Mora. If we want to talk about coloring, we're talking about Tamara Bonvillain, and we're talking about Jordi Belair. Greenwell says, hear you, Robbie. I enjoy dialogue and script, especially engaging literature. If done incorrect, though, it can stifle pacing. 100%. I wouldn't say, BJ, that it's like that Tom King starts good and ends weak. Like, for the most part, certain books work. Like, Omega Men was a perfect 12-issue series. So was Vision. So was Mr. Miracle. I've heard Sheriff of Babylon, too. And I think Strange Adventures is shaping up really well. Rorschach I like, too. It's just, he's gone from a very sparse writer to a really dense writer. And that's a choice that he has made, I think, against criticism. Future State Batman any good? It's Dark Detective, I think, is the better one. Next Batman's okay. The first issue was really good, but the other issues were a little bit lackluster for me. But Dark Detective was solid throughout. Sin says Vision is one of the best Marvel books ever, period. His Vision run's really good. Tomorrow says, I just finally read Future State Aquaman. Damn, I wish I would have listened to you sooner. And that's why I'm actually excited for Aquaman The Becoming, the new Jackson 6-issue miniseries, because it's the same writer, I believe, and he did great work with that character. That was a cool book, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Joram agrees with me. Jorge Jimenez, Dan Mora. Batman throws in Bermejo. See Tynan doing an anthology series like Strange Tales with Doctor Strange, Werewolf by Night, Zatanna, and Blade. Yeah, just give them that. If Tynan ever jumped over to Marvel, they would put him on something bigger. Maybe a Spider-Man might not be too bad. And I would hate to see Jorge Jimenez leave DC, but if he went over to Marvel, I would love to see him on a Spider-Man book. How cool would that be? That'd be freaking awesome. All right, we're moving on. We're going to talk about Loki. I shared a lot of thoughts already on the show with Jim Mint, and Comic Story, and Very Gary, and Pressable Defects, and Comic Tom. But it's time. It's time for the final time, for now, because there's season 2 coming. It's time to talk Loki on Loki. All right, full-on spoilers. If you haven't watched the final episode of Loki Season 1, you don't want it spoiled, drop out right now. And then come back. I liked it. I really did. Overall, I think Loki Season 1's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Name dropper, says Comics with Bueller. By the way, Bueller, I've name dropped you a shit ton. I hope you got flooded with messages making sure you were okay. Anyway, overall, I liked Loki. I thought it was pretty solid. But here's the thing. And I know I'll get shit for this. Okay. Spoiler warning yet again for Loki. Okay. Here we go. The reveal was a Kang reveal. Okay. And technically, it's not Kang. I just want everybody to know that. Technically, it's not Kang. It's He Who Remains. But in the MCU, He Who Remains is a Kang variant. And what they did in this episode was set up Kang. All of that. Setting up the MCU future. Seeing Jonathan Majors finally in a version of Kang was fan-frickin-tastic. They basically took Immortus and He Who Remains and shoved them together. I don't think they named Immortus so that they can use that eventually and not have it be confusing. But he's wearing the Immortus garb. He's not the He Who Remains from the comics. In the comics, He Who Remains is the one that created the TVA, and he's this old guy at the end of time just waiting for the beginning of the next universe, right? Or some shit like that, right? I don't know. I've never actually read those Thor issues. That being said, I thought it was really cool to tie that into Kang. Okay. Now, on the last episode, I was super solid in my prediction that it was going to be a Loki, like a villain Loki at the end, like King Loki, right? Many reasons for this. First of all, I thought that they were really pulling a lot from Agent of Asgard, which they were. If you read Agent of Asgard, they're pulling a lot from that. But they're also making nods to all these other ones, like Vote Loki, just small little nods here and there, right? So there was that. Then I just thought it was going to be formulaic. And I was like, they're not going to just introduce Kang in the last episode because they would just have to do a big info dump. Well, that's exactly what they did. They surprised me. They surprised Jim. They surprised Benny. I'm name dropping Bueller. You know, Joe Corallo, friend of the show. Ron V. Chris Matheson, co-creator Bill and Ted, friend of the show. We've had him. Have we been able to reach Timothy Dalton yet in the last hour? No. Damn. All right. Anyway, but we were literally shocked, like, because Kevin Feige had said, you don't need to watch the movies you don't need to watch the shows to understand the movies. Well, was he lying? I don't know, because I think when Kang gets introduced, like, it will be introduced in and of itself, but this does open it up. This does something very exciting, and it was really cool. There hasn't been a Marvel movie in a while. It was Black Widow. I found it to be disappointing. We'll be talking about that in a minute, but they needed something big. They needed a big drop. This gave us that big drop. I loved it for that. As a show, I do have the criticism of shows about Loki, and I don't feel like it really wrapped up the story it was telling in the first season. The story has been about learning to trust yourself, learning to love yourself. They dumb it down in the most obvious way with Sylvie and Loki kissing at the end. Do I have a problem with that? No, because the whole idea is about loving yourself. Like, Loki can't trust himself. He can't be trusted. Like, they bring that to a little bit of a bit and they break it off. But this entire last episode was not about Loki. Now, and I get that other people can be like, but the whole show's been about Loki. Yes, you're right. You're right. But pulling out my Marvel fanboy hat, I take that hat off and set it aside, and I look at this critically as a TV show. If this was any other show, if it was not tied in the MCU, I would criticize it for just introducing something like out of nowhere at the end, explaining a bunch, and then just kind of leaving it on a cliffhanger. I would criticize it for that, for not kind of completing. A cliffhanger is a great thing to do, but you can also bring stories to a head. Now, maybe they did, and I do think they did. The story is there of Loki learning to trust himself, to trust that maybe he who remains telling the truth. Or the idea of Sylvie. This is what I love. Sylvie even told Loki in a previous episode, the difference between us is you want to rule the TVA and I want to destroy it. So we hit a point at the end where that's going to happen. The culmination of the two Lokis, the fight, the clash. I loved it. Loved everything. The reveal of the Kang variant, which they kind of soft put in Immortus, but just called him He Who Remains, so that they can still have Immortus on the table, I believe. I loved all that as a Marvel fanboy. As a show, though, I would say, though, with all this time developed to this Loki bit, to just really derail it in this last episode to explain all this shit, that was not necessarily a good thing for a TV show to do. It was a good thing for a Marvel show to do. And maybe that's the thing. Marvel shows don't work like TV shows. In fact, TV shows are changing nowadays. They're mostly long movies. And at the same time, even if you want to leave on a cliffhanger, I think you got to really wrap some stuff up. And there's a lot of stuff still dangling and unexplained. Okay? That being said, I think Loki has been a really great show overall. I would give this episode 4 ya digs. So I haven't given an episode of Loki below 3.5. I don't think I've given it below 4. So all in all, I like Loki. How does it compare? Everybody wants to do the comparison. How does it compare to Falcon and the Winter Soldier? It's better than Falcon and Winter Soldier, in my opinion. It was definitely more consistent. Even though I thought there was a dip in episode 3. And I think episode 1 is the best. I think episode 5 is the second best. Then 2. Then 6. Then 4. And then 3. 3 is my least favorite. 3 and 4 I think was a little... but all right. A little stretchy. How does it compare to WandaVision? That's a tough one for me right now. It's more consistent as a whole than WandaVision. WandaVision goes from sitcom to MCU, back to sitcom, back to MCU. But I think WandaVision really nailed how to end a show. And I love the character arc of Wanda way better in WandaVision. The mystery and all that stuff too. This is obviously massive for the MCU to build up Kang and the story of that. But for the most part, I would say that overall, I was a little bit let down that they just kind of... I wasn't let down. I'm just going to say, I wasn't let down. I liked it, and I'm really pumped that there's a season 2. If there wasn't a season 2, I don't know. I wouldn't feel very well with that ending, obviously. But I'm excited to see what's going to happen. So overall, I would say that I don't know. I have to rewatch WandaVision, see how it works as a whole on a rewatch. I've only watched it the first time. And I'll get back to you on that because Jamie needs to watch WandaVision. And so we'll probably do that soon. But I like Loki. It's up there with WandaVision for me out of the 3. I am excited for What If, and have no fear when What If starts airing in August here on Rockin Robbie Live. We will be covering it with a new segment, which is going to be called What If Rockin Robbie Talked About What If. And I'm very, very excited to debut that. So that was our final bit for now, talking low-key on Loki. What'd you think about it? All right, coming right up is the Black Widow movie review, but I got to pee real bad, so we're going to go ahead and go to break. So we're going to go on break. When we come back, Black Widow movie review, Image in the 90s, top 5 movies from 1987, Show and Tell, the final 9, the outro, and then the backlog. You know what's going on. So on break, I want to ask you a question. The question I ask you is, what'd you think of Loki overall? Where's it fit? Welcome, everybody, back to Pop Culture Philosophers. In fact, it's Rockin Robbie Live, the final act, if you want to call it that. We've had a grand old time tonight already. We talked about our favorite comic books of last week. We looked ahead at what's coming up this week. That was great stuff. We talked about a lot of fun pop culture nonsense, including why does everybody care that Space Jam 2 sucks? Of course Space Jam 2 sucks. We went back on Loki. We talked about the DC books. We had a lot of fun conversations. We got a lot coming up, too. Black Widow movie review, Image in the 90s, Top 5 87. Wow, we got a lot still to go. And me and my baby got to eat, but the Yankees are on top 7-0 right now on the Red Sox. That's awesome. It's really awesome, right, Herm? We got Caps back in the place. How is everybody doing? So we asked you what you thought about Loki when we last left. By the way, find podcasts and more at popculturephilosophers.com. You can follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. If you're on Facebook, join the PCP Army, the official Pop Culture Philosophers Facebook group. And if you're on Twitter, you can follow me there at @RockinRobbie. If you want to support the channel, you can do so with the Super Chat, or you can do so at patreon.com/PCP and unlock exclusive content like early access to a downloadable audio-only file of the weekly comic book review before it drops here on YouTube. The first people to know the pick of the week are our patrons. So thank you so much, everybody. Their names are listed right there, so just think about it. And when we last left, we had a super chat from Aegis Comics of Alaska. Thank you so much, Aegis. What if should fix everything? Hey yo, yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey. Yo. Let me tell you about this little man I know. His name is Venom. Crawling up the wall of the Joker's cell while Hellboy is just crushing beer cans on his horn. I think it's a little bit unfair, because you notice that he's got the big hand right there and the horn. Are you that strong, Hellboy, to keep crushing all them bottle cans? What you saying, bottle cans? What does that mean, man? It means whatever I need it to. What does Venom have to do with this? Just as much as Rambo and Jason too. Uncle Scrooge. Friday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. Join us for Action Fest as it continues with a look at John Wick, all three films. I haven't seen any of them. I'm really excited to watch them. Then we got Dylan's Horror Show rolling on through 6 p.m. Saturday night. That's Central Time. Werewolf double feature, Silver Bullet and Bad Moon. Thank you for the super chat, Aegis. So we asked you what you thought about Loki overall. Should just be called Imagine Robbie Doing What If. See, I think it's more redundantly funny if it's what if we talked. I'm going to take out the Rockin Robbie. What if we talked about what if? I don't know. That just cracks me up for some reason. That's a good pick, though. That's a good pick. As far as Loki, Synth Z says solid 7 out of 10. That's 3.5, you digs. Nice. Albert thought it was pretty dope. Albert said 4.5, you digs. If Lost Boys isn't in the top 5 of 87, we riot. Don't worry, Steve. I think it's in there. Stefan says, out of the whole season, 4.5. Ya digs. That's out of 5. Big Herm says, 5 ya digs for Loki for me because it was so much fun and did what it had to do for the MCU future shows and movies. Well put, young man. Bobby says, I thought it was a simple story about a boy and his alligator. Hell yeah. What if Robbie shaved his face? Oh, haven't done that in a while. 2019 Horror Fest, last time I did it. I didn't like it. Bobby says, time out of time, I guess. Stefan says, my only gripe is I wish it was a longer season. Bob says, my new favorite movie is Nobody. I love it. I haven't seen it. Jelani gives it 5 croakies. All right. All right, Twitch says, my theory, the timekeepers were real and pruned the other Kangs. The one who remains managed to dispose of them with help from Renslayer, how she got a promotion, but could not act to bring back the other Kangs alone. He needed someone who wanted to destroy the TVA, thus he manipulated Sylvie to push Loki out and kill him. This effectively kills the TVA, allowing Kangs to exist and to thrive. They take over the TVA and use it to branch the timeline further, increasing their power. Well thought out theory. Cap says 4, you digs. Twitch says 5 out of 5. Nick says 4 out of 5. Philip says 5. Man, y'all really like Loki. Tim Crocker says, I give it 4.5, you digs. Loved. What's HWR mean? But by the last episode, the dialogue, he who remains. But the last episode, the dialogue felt like it was specifically written for commercials. Huh. Big Herm says, after John gives it 4.5 euros, Big Herm says, I crunched the numbers for a grand total of 4.69 dudes. So there you go. Speaking of longer episodes, Mo 2 Revelations only 4 episodes long. Really? That's just a movie broken up. Will Kang's last name still be Richards? Well, he's the Richards of another timeline. Nathaniel Richards of another timeline, right? But maybe. I'm just glad we got a badass villain in Kang. Well, I know that if you look at what Jonathan Majors did with He Who Remains, he's going to do a great job with Kang. All right. It's time for our Smoke a Bowl Watch movie. This week it was Black Widow. We'll continue on the Bruce Lee. We'll finish the Bruce Lee look next week with Game of Death. And then, Bob, if you're still here, me and Jelani had talked. First Monday in August, if you're game. I don't know if I sent you this message yet. First August, Monday, if you're game, we're game. So, there you go. Anyway, it's time for my thoughts on Black Widow. Black Widow. I didn't really like it. I thought that this movie should have been released in right after Civil War. It should have been before Infinity War. It would have made her sacrifice feel a little bit more, I don't know. It made it pack a little bit more punch. But let's just talk about it. I'm not going to spoil too much, but let's get into it. First of all, Scarlett Johansson, I think, does a great job as Natasha still. I think she's done a great job in all these movies. I think it's a shame that she did not get her solo movie before. She should have been able to get a solo movie not after the character dies. That's a shame. This could have been a cool 2 to 3 movie long series in the MCU, spy thriller action. Could have been cool. Then we got the introduction of Yelena Belova. I liked her. I thought she was okay. She's completely different than who that character is in the comic book, but I actually thought that was an improvement from the comic book, was the character of Yelena. I liked her. I thought she was cool. I love the dynamic with Natasha, and I think one of the highlights and strengths of this film is in their relationship, in what's going on there. I thought that was really, really strong, and probably should have been dealt with more fully than some of the more disappointing factors of the movie. One thing that is not disappointing to me in this movie is David Harbour as Red Guardian. He's played for laughs. The one problem I do have is that the way that he's portrayed is completely different in the beginning of the film as it is at the rest of the film, but I get it. He's in a Russian prison for a long time, whatever, but he was genuinely a joy and a comedic highlight of the film. Rachel Weisz as Melina, I just wasn't much there for me. I just didn't feel much charisma. And so I just kind of, for me, kind of a forgettable piece of the movie, but I do like the idea of the family. Now let's talk about the villains. Taskmaster. First of all, I like the look of Taskmaster. I don't think it looks bad. I think it's close enough to the comics. I don't get the visor's what throws it off, but the way that Taskmaster moves in this movie is cool because you get to see him actually mimic the moves and fighting styles of the Avengers that you've seen on screen so far. The look is there, and every time he showed up, every time Taskmaster showed up, every time they showed up, I thought the fight was good. It was fine. And then there's the reveal about what Taskmaster actually is. I'm not going to spoil it in case you don't know, but I'll tell you what, I am not necessarily a big fan of Taskmaster in the comics, but it pissed me off. So I can't even imagine, because there's a cult following for Taskmaster. I can't even imagine what you're going to think. And then you've got General, can't even remember his name. The ultimate villain of the movie fell very flat. One of the weakest MCU villains out there. Just didn't work for me. And to quote Joe Corallo, the villains in this movie were a sleazy guy and not Taskmaster. And that's all I'll say about that. But I do like this core group of the family. So no matter what I thought about Rachel Weisz in this film, David Harbour, really liked him. Yelena was good, and I like that relationship with Natasha. And the thing is, after Avengers Endgame, in which Natasha dies, and we know now that she's just not coming back, it makes this movie feel out of place. It makes it feel like it has no stakes. It builds up something really nice and definitively only her in the MCU, but she doesn't get rewarded that as a character until after she dies. This movie should have been made in phase 2, actually, to be honest with you. And then Black Widow should have had her own movie trilogy. And it's sad that it didn't happen. It's sad that we're getting this, which is a pale comparison to the individual journeys that we could have had, because there's a lot of promise in this movie, but there are a lot of weak-ass villains in this movie. But the core group of the family and that dynamic is really cool, but it just doesn't hold the emotional punch that it should, because we know how it ends. And that's what I thought about Black Widow. Overall, I'm going to give this one 3 ya digs. Out of 5, 3 ya digs. It's okay. It has some good action. It's got some funny moments. It's got a lot of potential, but it's got some really shitty villains that do not work, and it ultimately feels like just missed opportunity. 3 ya digs for me. What about you? By the way, I think Black Widow was more about family than a Fast and Furious movie. Hey, Danksback, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Let me back up a little bit on comics and see what people say. Tacky says, I give Black Widow 5 ya digs just because Scarlet is so damn fine. All right, if that's your only criteria, there's a lot of 5 ya dig movies out there. There are a lot of fine-ass people in movies, okay? Every George Clooney movie's 5 ya digs. Every movie with Timothy Olyphant's 5 ya digs. You think I'm going to give Hitman 5 ya digs? You out your damn mind. Black Widow introduced a mutant to the film. Yeah, was that supposed to be the bear, Ursa Major? I think that's a stretch, but okay, sure. What is it? Does it mean if I buy the Blu-ray first print, like I got like a first appearance? Bob says, done deal, August 1st. Damn, that's the first Monday in August? All right, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's do it. We'll do it. Shogun Assassin, hell yeah. August 1st, Shogun Assassin. Me, Bob, Jelani, and Brooks live on the channel. Movie review. Action Fest special, baby. I don't know if it's really super action, but it's kung fu or whatever, so it's cool. Bob's helping me get into Kung Fu cinema. So thank you, Bob. He sent me the movie. I really appreciate it. Yelena stole the show. Jorm says, good review. Thank you. Thank you. Nick says, Black Widow, I liked the family stuff more than I thought I would. Action was good in my opinion. Not Winter Soldier level, but still good. Villain sucked. I think that's my review in a nutshell. I just pretend that Salt was Black Widow 1. I haven't watched Salt. Should I? How was Lucy? I didn't watch that one either. BJ was very disappointed with this movie. I thought Lost in Translation was Black Widow Part 1. Oh, Jesus. I thought Ghost World was. Pull back further than that. That's the first ScarJo movie I remember watching. Ghost World. Based on the Daniel Clowes comic book. That's super indie, yo. That's a deep cut. That's a good movie, too. Steve Buscemi, Thora Birch. That's a really fun good movie. Jamie, have you seen that? Olaf, have you seen Ghost World? Did he just say making fuck? Anyway. Family. Bob says, it was a less of a fitting send-off for Black Widow as it was a great setup and intro to Yelena Belova. You can tell they are banking on her for the next phase. Yeah, you can. But that's not how you do this. The character Black Widow got a shit deal in the MCU. Let's just say that. In my opinion. There's a weird love story with the fucking Hulk in Age of Ultron. What the shit was that? Like Joss Whedon? Someone I know reads comics? At least he's read his own, you know? Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, Hulk and Black Widow have a rope. Where does that shit come from? Out of nowhere, dropped? Whatever. Brief mention, I guess, and fucking... Black Widow's so wasted. She's so badass in Avengers. That's the most badass that she is in Avengers. Yeah. She's badass in other things. Infinity War, Civil War. She's badass in Iron Man 2 when you first see her. She got a raw deal when it came to her own movie, man. That sucks. It just feels like it's an afterthought. And she deserves more than that. The character and ScarJo for portraying that character. Very efficiently. Capstone Comics says, I would watch David Harbour shop for groceries, cut grass, or pour milk. Me too. Check him out on the newest episode of Hot Ones where he eats the hot wings. It's hilarious. I love that show. Martial arts film to review, Once Upon a Time in China with Jet Li. I've never seen that. I bet Bob has. William, if you don't follow Bullseye Bob on Instagram, you got to, because he does this whole Kung Fu Friday shit. And it's all these movies. I'm just like, do I need to be writing this shit down? Because I'm just now watching the Bruce Lee films. Loving them. Steve says, Ghost World is awesome. I have the Criterion version. 5 you digs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Bob says, William, that's a great trilogy. Best of the 3 is the second one, where Donnie Yen shows up. The fights in that movie were awesome. The sun is coming down. Don't let the sun go down on you. Big Herm doesn't have the afterthought theory at all. Big Herm. Nice. I'm glad. I was complimented at having the most polite dig on a comic book ever this week when I said, my favorite thing about the newest issue of Thor was that you liked it so much. So my favorite thing about Black Widow is that you liked it so much. How about that? But I love you, Herm. I love that you're just so pure. All right. Let's do the next bit. And the reason why I want to do this, so we do Marvel in the 90s. That was the big thing, right? Then we did DC in the 80s, Marvel in the 80s. Then I want to do this next bit. I'm trying to still define how to do this. And what I usually do is I try to run through the story of the comic and show you what's going on and whatever. And that's not what I do on Tuesday nights. That's not what I do in the top 10. It's just not how I roll. Like, it just feels out of place. So I'm just going to give you my brutal, honest thoughts on what I think. And tonight we're starting up Image in the 90s. And I really want to highlight this because last year I made a conscious decision to be a Spawn fan. And it like opened up this whole new world and of appreciation for what was going on in the 90s with Image and how important it is to creator rights, how important it is to IP being, sent to the creators. It was a big exploration too into the power of dynamic artwork over story and a different side. So not only am I a Spawn Todd McFarlane fan for over a year now, I've just been happy, never been happier in my life, let's be honest. I am now a fan of all things Image from the 90s. We talked a little bit about Rob Liefeld recently. I defended him like crazy on Friday night's stream and back chat. And tonight, I want to focus on a creator that to me is kind of overlooked out of the Image founders. He's probably not the most overlooked, but in my life, he was overlooked. Because out of everything now, I honestly think that he was the best artist at the time that Image was formed. And I really love his style today. So it's time to debut our newest bit, which is called Image in the 90s. And we're going to start with Mark Silvestri. Cyberforce, baby. Cyberforce. So I had never, ever in my life ever read the original Cyberforce run. So I recently picked up the original 4-issue miniseries, which is titled The 10 Men of War. So what is Cyberforce? It's a copy of the X-Men. So originally Mark Silvestri had actually pitched this to Marvel. He was in New York at a Marvel Comics summit for the X-Men because he was a very popular artist on Uncanny X-Men. And he pitched an idea that he wanted to do a story about a government organization that was taking mutants and cybernetically enhancing them. So they're cybernetically enhanced mutants. So they already have powers, and then those powers are advanced even further through cybernetics. Think of Wolverine, Weapon X, right? Speaking of Wolverine, Rip Claw. Oh my God. So anyway, he wanted to call it Cyberforce. Bob Harris didn't want to work it out. That was the same weekend that he had the talk with Todd and Rob and decided he would join Image. Took this idea over to Image. He wanted to launch his career at Image with a book that was very close to what he was known for. Most of the Image partners, when they first launched, they were doing books incredibly close to what they were already doing. I would say Spawn is probably a big thing away from that, and maybe Savage Dragon a little bit, but Wildcat, Cyberforce, Youngblood, yeah, 100%. Shadowhawk, Valentino, I think, wanted to do Wolverine, but we'll get to Shadowhawk one day. Don't worry, TM. Speaking of Wolverine, by the way, Mark Silvestri, a great artist on Wolverine, on X-Men, and Rip Claw is by far my favorite character out of this run of Cyberforce. Overall, interesting enough characters in that early 90s kind of way, but the story doesn't ever get into it. So it's about this ragtag group of cybernetically enhanced mutants. And there's this, what is the agency called? Oh, I don't even remember what it's called now, but they're called Cyberforce. And then the bad guys are like cyber something else. I don't even remember it now. But they're away from this agency. Just trying to do what they do. There's some interesting characters though. Like I think Cyblade has a cool look, but you don't get anything out of the characters when you read this first initial arc. You get some really nice artwork. And the thing is though, in issue 3, the artwork gets a little bit lackluster for me because 3 different inkers come in. The first issue is all penciled and inked by Mark Silvestri. Scott Williams comes in on part 2, I think, and then you have Dan Panosian and Scott Williams and somebody else on part 3, and it feels a little bit clunky. But not only does it introduce Ripclaw and these other characters, but Velocity as well. She's kind of the Jubilee. So it starts off, she's being tracked down by this organization. Cyberdyne? It's not Cyberdyne. It's something. Oh my goodness. What is it? I'm trying to look through the issue. I know it's got to be here. It's just going to spell out pretty soon. But anyway, so they're after Velocity because she's escaped from the program, just like all the people that make up Cyberforce. And, I mean, it's interesting enough. I think the first issue is pretty solid. The artwork is great. Ripclaw's a really cool character. The villain setup, it's interesting. They're all run by this, there's this mother of mutants that they say or something like that. And, but overall, I think the art's fine. And it's a decent first issue. It's a really solid first issue. Then it had a lot of delays. This was something that happened and plagued Image in those early days. They were trying to do too much too soon and things like that. If anybody knows the name of the organization working against Cyberforce, I cannot seem to find a page in which they say it. But what is it? Basilisk? That's the leader of it. What's her? I don't even. This is the first time I've ever read this stuff, and I actually thought the first issue read really well, and I thought the second issue read very, very well. But then when you get to the third issue, which I was rather excited for, because the third issue has Pitt, and we'll eventually catch up in Images. But the Del Keown character was launching at Image at the time, and Pitt's in there, and it's just kind of an after. Why is he even in there? It doesn't really make sense. But at times I really like the artwork. Interesting enough characters, but they don't get into any of them. The one character that they get into is Velocity, and it feels kind of silly. There's Pitt. Pitt shows up, and they think he's caused this explosion. They fight him for a moment, then all of a sudden they're like, cool. There's the ultimate villain. It's so freaking weird. It starts getting so muddy and clumsy at issue number 3. Now, this is a 4-issue series that's doing the opposite of what Tom King does, what we were talking about. By the way, there's the Ripclaw and Pitt team up right there, which would be cooler if I actually knew the fuck more about Ripclaw. So this basically what I'm trying to say is that they're doing the opposite of Tom King. They're telling too much story and too little of time in this. And they're doing it with cool artwork, but it does suffer in issue 3. It feels very clunky. The story starts speeding up really quick. Velocity's talking about Cyberforce being her family and cyber data. Thank you so much, cardstock variant. That's what it is, cyber data. You got this. So you got the idea of mutants, and mutants are revolting. But then you got this organization that's cyber data, and they're trying to take these mutants and cybernetically enhance them. Some of them have escaped. They formed Cyberforce, so it's very X-Men, but a little bit different. But it feels so rushed after the second issue. The first 2 issues, I think, are paced pretty well. It's got solid artwork, decent enough introductions to the characters. There's a lot of backstory there. Now, obviously, this got an issue number 0 right after by Walt Simonson, and then got elaborated into like a 35-issue miniseries or ongoing series, which I'll definitely be checking out. I already have some of those issues, so if you come across any Cyberforce issues cheap enough, you can throw them my way. You're always welcome to. Just let me know. But at the end here, so you got the major Ballistic, is that her name? Like the main kind of villain working for Cyber Data, trying to hunt down these mutants, and then there's this mutant leader that's kind of like a Magneto. She's trying to like overthrow Cyber Data. It just becomes so convoluted, but it could have been. It's got potential. Could have worked if they would have just trusted this series to go, but they didn't. They wanted to do this mini series to see if it worked, and they crammed a lot of ideas in there, and the artwork felt a bit rushed, and you can feel how it just went crazy. Anyway, there's this weird bit in here where all of a sudden the villain mutant is the villain from Cyber Data's mother, and then Velocity is her sister. So that's the weird forced emotional moment, and then the mother dies, Mother May I, and then literally it just wraps up in like 4 panels, like super, super freaking quick. So that's Cyberforce, the original miniseries. Overall, I love 1 and 2. I think it's fine. I think it's solid. I think it gets clunky in 3, and it's a really quick wrap up in issue number 4. So overall, I would give it probably 2.5 to 3 you digs. 3 you digs. because I really appreciate what they were doing. Cyberforce, Mark Silvestri wanted to do something a little bit more safe, until he moved on to other work. And eventually Mark Silvestri really carved out his niche at Image with Top Cow, of course, doing Witchblade and Darkness. And Darkness is some of my favorite Mark Silvestri stuff. And we will be covering that on Image in the 90s. But there's my copy of issue number 1. Still got the whole how to get a copy of issue number 0 of Image Comics. And, it's cool to look back and see that like Malibu Comics was helping them distribute their stuff. And, it's got the gatefold cover. That's super cool. There's my issue number 2 right there. So right now I want to know, what do you think about Cyberforce overall? I just feel like the characters need a little bit more development. And I'm sure that happens in the series going on. As much as I really don't like issue number 3, I really like the cover. Pit by Mark Silvestri there. And then issue 4's got a foil embossed cover because it's the fucking 90s. So there you go. So overall, I like Cyberforce. I'm excited to check more of it out. I'm definitely more of a fan of Mark Silvestri now than I ever have been, though I really do like the Darkness. And so I'm really, really excited to get into it. But that was, I want to know, what do you think about Cyberforce? If you read it, what characters do you like? Ripclaw, by far, is the standout character. He's basically Wolverine, like a Native American version of Wolverine. There's very little development on any character in this book. So it's just a bunch of Flash that eventually gets just kind of lost in the muddiness of issue 3 and 4. So really good in the first half, not so good in the second half. And that's what I thought about Cyberforce. And that was our first bit of Image in the 90s. All right. Hey, we got a super chat from Tacky. Thank you so much. Congrats to TM for his new bedroom set and 300. Nice. 300 subs to seriously, station. 300 subs. Thank you for the super chat, but this is for TM. Seriously, TM, congratulations on 300 subs. That's awesome, brother. If you're not subbed up to TM, do so. And check out his latest conversation. Was it Brandon? But actually, before you check that out, check out the episode before it was me. Just check that one out. And then check everybody else out. And watch the one, Brandon. That's what I would say. All right, we're moving right on into the next bit, which is top 5 movies from 1987. So think real hard. Google it if you need to. What are your top 5 movies in 1987? Let's break it down, baby. Y'all need to know this was tough. This was tough. At number 5, though, I've got Hellraiser. Love this movie. Clive Barker classic. Gave us Pinhead, the Cenobites, the Lament configuration. You know me. And you know how much I love it. Mic went out. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Check it, check. Check it, check it, check. Can you hear me now, everybody? All right, that's better. Audio just went nutso. Yeah, some reason it changed. It changed audio sources. That's nuts. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Top 5 1987 movies. Number 5, Hellraiser. You know me, you know I love Hellraiser. Pinhead, it's a great, cool concept. I really, really freaking like it. At number 4, I'm going Lethal Weapon. Because this could have easily been nothing but horror films, but I had to put Lethal Weapon on here because I love this movie. Richard Donner just passed away, but this movie is just fantastic. I love the entire series. I think this is a more consistent action franchise than Rambo, than Die Hard, than a lot of other classic action franchises. I think Lethal Weapon, I love all freaking 4 of these films. The first one, though, is one of the best. What Danny Glover and what Mel Gibson do together, and the way that the whole concept eventually gets elaborated out, but this movie is amazing. At number 3, I'm going The Lost Boys. Cry, little sister. We talk about The Lost Boys a lot. It's one of the best movies in 1987. It's one of my favorite vampire movies of all time. It's got a great cast. It's got a great energetic vibe to it. And if you want to know more of our thoughts, just check out our movie night. At number 2, I'm putting Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2. This was a tough list. There's a lot that I left out. Real quick, Evil Dead 2, though. I love it. It's a much more intentionally funny version of the first film, but it's way more elaborated on. It's got great effects. It's got an amazing soundtrack and score. It is just a fantastic movie that just cracks you up and is also still legitimately scary. Evil Dead 2 is a masterpiece. Now, some quick shout-outs. Honorable mentions to Dolls. Honorable mentions to Opera by Dario Argento. And honorable mention to Monster Squad. And my number 1, Near Dark. I had to think about this, and I just love this movie. I thought it would be Evil Dead 2, but the more and more I thought about it, everything about this movie, the atmosphere, it's just, I don't necessarily like the ending as much, but I'm very forgiving because I love the performances. I love the love story. I feel like it's a little bit natural and organic and real. I love this approach to vampire fiction. It's a little bit Western, but still modern. And it's not like overly romantic. It's not like to Anne Rice. It's not gothic, but it's very raw and visceral. Bill Paxton, Lance Hendrickson, they do amazing performances in this movie. Catherine Bigelow directed this. I love it. Tangerine Dream does the score. It just blows my world. The atmosphere in this movie, the tone throughout, cinematography, everything about it just entices me. So wrapping it up, my number 5 movie from 1987 is Hellraiser. Number 4, Lethal Weapon. Number 3, The Lost Boys. Number 2, Evil Dead 2. And number 1, Near Dark. What are your top 5 movies of 1987? So let's see what everybody says here. I can't wait to look back and see what the audio was like. Stefan says RoboCop. Not on my list, but that's a good honorable mention. Nostalgia Express says 87, Spaceballs for sure, Lethal Weapon, Princess Bride. Jelani says Lethal Weapon got me into the action genre. Joram says The Princess Bride. Bobby says RoboCop, Spaceballs, Predator, Princess Bride, and my number 1, La Bamba. Oh, all right. Lou Diamond Phillips. Fable says Evil Dead 2, RoboCop, Hellraiser, La Bamba, and Lethal Weapon. Tim says, I love that the Frog Brothers work at a comic shop in Lost Boys. Feldman was a young acting genius. Tacky says Lost Boys for me. Jelani says, great vampires with the stupid cure for them. I'm talking about Near Dark. Yeah, you're right. They're maggots, Michael. No Jaws the Revenge? No, there's not. That's funny. 87 is a good year for movies, especially horror films. Here we go. Paul says Princess Bride, Raising Arizona, Running Man, Full Metal Jacket, and Dirty Dancing. Tim says Brave Little Toaster. I love it. All right. Now it's time for show and tell. We're going to start show and tell by showing off the Transformer that we opened up last week. Missing Link says Predator, RoboCop, Lethal Weapon, Princess Bride, Running Man. Paul says Raising Arizona #1. So there it is. The Soundwave we opened up last week. Got it transformed. With Ravage is in there now. Tape opens up like that. And here is Laserbeak. Super cool. Of course, this one easily goes into tape mode. Ravage is a little bit more difficult because you kind of move his legs around. But yeah, there it is. I don't think it's the cleanest transformation into its original shape, but it looks fine. It still looks cool. I like Soundwave a lot. What else we got? We got the newest Blu-ray I got. I'm slowing down, but I got Seven Samurai on Criterion finally. Very, very excited for that. Love that movie. I got an A-OK from Caps on Comics, which is fantastic. Jamie throws out her top 5. Near Dark, Lost Boys, Evil Dead 2, Princess Bride, Spaceballs. Honorable mention, Cherry 2000. I've never seen that one. Never seen that one. But Kenny had gotten me these Masters of the Universe little tiny figures. And I got them yesterday. So there's the Man-at-Arms. Look how tiny they are. That's a Blu-ray. They're awesome. So there's Man-at-Arms. There's Merman. I love that they're carded on a very retro-looking card. Orko. And the big two. He-Man and Skeletor. Great additions to the collection. Thank you so much, Caps on Comics. Someone throw out a link. Y'all should sub up and check out the conversation I had with him and Dank on Thursday night in case you missed it. Then, as promised, we're going to open up this T-Rex Megatron. So let's do it. Obviously not going to be able to transform it. I'm sure it's a little bit more too complex for me to do just on the cuff. But we're going to at least take a look at what it looks like. It's currently in Megatron mode, but it turns into a giant purple T-Rex. As you can see on the back right there. I don't know much about Beast Wars. But the idea of a Megatron that turns into a Tyrannosaurus Rex, pretty freaking dope to me, to be honest. Gotta do some cutting. We now pause for station identification. All right, I think I got enough of them cut. He's really in there. He's really in there. There we go. So first off, there we go. So there he is in his Megatron mode, and this somehow turns into a giant T-Rex. The one thing I don't like about it is, one hand is just a T-Rex head. Really? Like, really? You can hide that in some kind of way? But still kind of cool. So it looks cool. But I can't wait to transform this thing. Just looking at it, trying to figure out how I would do it. No freaking clue. But anyway, join in next week. Join in next week. Jelaine says it took 20 minutes to cut all that crap off. Join in next week, and it will be in T-Rex mode. So there you go. All right, we move from show and tell into the final 9. We're going through my Marvel Universe 1991 Series 2 action or trading cards. Iron Man and Mandarin. First Encounter. Tales of Suspense, number 50 from 1964. Then we got Hulk versus the Leader. First Encounter. Tales to Astonish, 1964, issue 62. Thor and Loki. First Encounter. Journey into Mystery, 85, 62, also Loki's first appearance in comics. Spider-Man versus J. Jonah Jameson. I love that they did that one. First Encounter, Amazing Spider-Man number 1, 1963. Thor versus Ulik the Troll. First Encounter, Thor 137, 1967. Silver Surfer versus Mephisto. First Encounter, Silver Surfer number 3, 1968, also first appearance of Mephisto. Fantastic Four versus Doctor Doom. First Encounter, Fantastic Four number 5 from 1962. The prize of my comic collection. X-Men versus Magneto. First Encounter, X-Men number 1 from 1963. And Daredevil versus Kingpin. One of the best rivalries out there in comics. And their first encounter wasn't until 171 of Daredevil in 1981. So there you go, the final 9. There is so much, that is so much security for a toy. Tacky will be on Chatting with the Community with TM on Wednesday. Nice. Prime versus Prime has the best tutorial to transform them. All right. All right, well, that's it, y'all. Coming up here on the channel this week, live Action Fest Friday night, John Wick, all 3 films. Saturday night on Dylan's Horror Show, Silver Bullet, Bad Moon. It's a werewolf double feature. So we do appreciate all the support, all the super chats. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are dipping out, but have no fear. We'll be back before you know it. Station, y'all. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep living, keep loving, keep learning. Just keep loose. All right, I finally got a hand on some Quisp. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I finally ate some this week. Jamie had some too. I've always heard of Quisp and Quake, never actually ever had them, as far as I can remember. Maybe I don't vividly, but maybe there's a memory there somewhere, right? This was good stuff. It's basically, so it's made with corn. I don't know what it was made with originally. They brought it back not too long ago because there's this whole thing where it's like, hey, Quisp, right there. Where you been? I was on planet blah, blah, blah. Is it I was on planet Q gathering the necessary supplies of Quisp cereal for consumption on Earth because apparently Earth doesn't have enough fucking corn. That's one thing we got plenty of is corn. And corniness. Is it true you're back to stay? Only if Earthlings want me to. In fact, it's getting tough to find a place to park space haulers carrying such vast quantities of Quisp cereal. No. How do I get Quisp? Now Quisp is available to all who desire it on this planet. For more information, visit QuakerOats.com. I don't know if this is still around. I got this at one of those wholesale aftermarket places, but I really enjoyed it. It's basically Captain Crunch. It's like a generic Captain Crunch, but it's got a different... Okay, it's got a different, like... It's got this, like... They're almost like these flat things, like Fruity Pebbles, but they're kind of cupped. And it actually... They're almost like a spoon for milk, and they're rather large pieces. I was really surprised at how large the piece was, but it works. It tastes like cheap Captain Crunch. It really reminds me of what I recollect Mr. T cereal, Batman cereal, and Gremlin cereal to taste like. So it brought me right back. Retro box. Loved it. Thought it was cool. For you digs. For you digs. For you big. For you digs. For Quisp. So if you can find it, get it. Because I don't know if you can get it anymore. I'm gonna look more into that. You know, the King Vitamin cereal, I can't get locally, but I know other people can get it. But I do want some of that, so that was pretty cool. Hey, by the way, the Yankees won. Watching highlights for Team USA. Looks like they're getting their shit together, too. So that's good. All right, we're out. Y'all have a good one.